Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Moon Harvest, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wassel, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W., Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Henrik 86, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Yeah.
You don't sound like you have a Romanian accent.
No, I left when I was 5, so.
Yeah, I left when I was 9.
Oh, nice.
Hold on.
What part are you from?
You're both Romanian?
I'm from, what's that?
You're both Romanian?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a problem.
Are we over the limit?
Yeah, one only. How many times?
One gypsy only?
One.
We're not gypsies. We're, it's from Csenad, right? Next to the Hungarian border. Next to Timișoara.
Timișoara. Nice, nice.
Yeah,
I got family in Craiova.
Go on?
I said I have family in Craiova.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with the other territories. I'm only familiar with, like, Timișoara, Bucharest, Csenad, and that's about it.
Nice.
Where'd you say you're from again?
Where I'm from, Transylvania?
Oh, yeah, I was in Transylvania the other day. Where in Transylvania? What city?
I think Deva.
Deva, I suppose.
From Deva.
First?
Yeah. No, I haven't gone back since I was a kid.
Okay, I went to 98 when I was like 18 years old. It was kind of nice. It was different. It was different though. It was way more run down. I was shocked. Right?
Yeah, I just remember days at the beach, the Black Sea.
Oh, okay.
Fucking beautiful.
All right.
Presumably those days are over though, right? They don't have black beaches these days. They're presumably mixed. Anybody can go, right?
Yeah, they allow for whites now.
Mic check.
Yes, we hear you.
Coming
Neil.
on this racist conversation.
Outrageous, isn't it, Neil?
Out freaking rageous. What's this about black beaches? I would have been the first one there. I got the Robert De Niro syndrome.
I think it was more the colour of the beach itself, Neil. That was just a joke by me as you joined.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. That was my little joke as well.
Presumably
it's funny you mention that.
The evolutionists would claim volcanic rock, right?
Funny that you mentioned that. We have rocks in Romania that grow and walk.
Grow in walks?
Yeah, they're called living rocks. They're like exclusive to Romania, and you can't like leave the country with them. You're not allowed to take them.
Oh, we have we have a different name for living rocks. We call them animals.
Probably advanced humans.
You're just batting 1,000 today, huh?
Sorry, they're our cousins. No, definitely not.
Yep.
No, that's absurd. That comes from a notion where you derive a globe Earth from flat Earth angle measurements, and then infer that you have an orbital motion around said sphere Earth. And in that sphere Earth, with an orbital motion, you have very distant stars that collapse in on themselves to create the elements of life. And those heavy metals fused in the hearts of dying stars follow entropy, where they formerly defied it, imploding, to explode and deposit, as I say, with entropy, a law that they were defying, all of those materials throughout the known cosmos. And in so doing, obviously, with enough time and lightning in the primordial soup, life will begin. But ultimately, the depositing of those rocks is only brought about because of the hearts of dying stars, and therefore all the rocks around you are essentially just distant cousins. That's Michelle Thaller's techno-babble bullshit based on suppositions of a sphere Earth that were derived from a flat Earth in the first instance. There we go. It's amazing how far your imagination can take you.
That was a great summary.
I knew that nonsense long before Michelle Thaler, or however you say it, Thaler, is that right? However you say her name, before she was parroting it and describing our rocks as being cousins, the overall rhetoric that gives you that notion, I was very familiar with long before she had said that.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't consider it imagination.
Well, it is,
They
because,
think it's real.
well, until you, John, hello, takes it apart by pointing out that the fantasy of the sphere Earth that's been derived from measurements that are taken from a flat plane cannot possibly exist beyond the mathematics and the reification. Because in physical reality, the way you get to that notion of a sphere Earth is from measurements of a flat plane. So, no, it definitely doesn't exist. They can say it's reality all they like. It isn't.
They not only say it, but come on, Nathan, they teach it.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like they're trying to find their purpose in their own madness.
That was one of the reasons why my wife told kids.
Possibly. Maybe next Thursday. Thinking about it. Maybe next week sometime. We'll have to decide then.
That means I'm roboting.
Oddly enough, when you said that you were roboting, you didn't robot.
Isn't that weird?
I said that's one of the main reasons why my wife took my children out of school and began to homeschool. Did that come through?
It did, but other than the reason itself, what was the reason?
Evolution, coming from a single cell and developing into all of this. The stuff you're talking about.
Fair enough.
She was like, no way.
It just lies in general. Anything that's just not truthful and ultimately leads back to a control mechanism for the people. You think, well, I don't really want my kids to be involved in that. If they have to go along to get along in terms of societal based conformity, then I'll teach them that. So an example of which happened today, right? We went to a new group for home ed kids. Now, my youngest daughter was a little bit too young for it, but my eldest daughter absolutely loved it, and they were learning how propulsion works and learning about trajectories and all sorts of good stuff. And they're using practical stuff to teach them. So there was like bows and arrows and bean bags that they were throwing into hoops. So all sorts of stuff like that. Anyway, at one point, when they're doing the bottle rockets with these little pumps to pump them up into the air and see how they can get them to go higher, the one lady in the class was like, "Would you like to go to space, Eleanor?" And she looked at her and went, "I don't know." And just smiled. And I was like, I didn't say anything to her, but I thought, well done. Because I've explained to her, she obviously hears what I'm doing. And I've had to explain to her in no uncertain terms, look, the Western world believes this to be true. So you will upset people if you just start challenging them on their understandings and beliefs. And I've also explained to my eldest daughter, who's like 7 now, that you have to gauge each situation. In other words, is it worth disagreeing with them when they're just being polite? In this case, she's just asking about a bottle rocket and then saying, "Would you like to go to space, little girl?" I don't know is the exact answer she should give, and she did give it. So you're like, couldn't have asked for more. There's no awkward moment where I've got to explain what I do for a living to random stranger that doesn't need the day ruining. And my daughter doesn't need to get involved in a wrangle-dangle about what she understands to be true about space, based on her understanding of how gas works. But she didn't do any of that. You know, go on.
Hold on.
May I
hold
add-
on.
I want to add something too.
1 second, John. Hold on 1 second. You blew an opportunity. That's a school teacher, buddy. She could have been influenced by that and her eyes open.
It wasn't a school teacher. It was another mum in a home ed class. As a mum that's gone, I want to hold a class because I would rather my kid was educated amongst other kids, and it costs a lot to get all the materials together. Therefore, these are quite frequent. There's all sorts of them that we've popped up. Some are good, some aren't. But you just go along and the parents like, give us a few quid, and that means I can put all the materials together to do this and rent the church hall. And then you have the church hall
Can I
for
say
2
something?
hours with about 5 or 6 kids, or 5 or 6 families of kids, let's just say, maybe 10 kids tops. And they just do what I just described. These aren't teachers. In the same way, if someone gave me a lecture about Jesus while I was there, I'd probably be a little bit offended. Because that's not what I'm there
I
for.
missed that. I'm sorry.
Well, let me add something really quick. And well, John, can I go before you quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I just wanted to say, I think this is what's missing in FE. Like, people aren't educated that, like, hey, you just can't just go around talking about it and just like, you know what I mean? Like, the way you educated your child is, in a sense, missing in FE. But I'll leave it at that. You go on, John.
We're grown people.
Well,
We should know when
hold
to.
I love it.
on. All right.
You got a bit more to add, Neil? Yeah, John.
I said we're grown people. We should know when and when not to speak. But I didn't hear the part where you said they weren't teachers. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's not what we were chuckling about. Go ahead. Refracted curvature.
Well, the thing is, you're talking about education and FE, and just specifically to the rocket example, and she give context to it with space. Was she teaching about eccentricity?
Just teaching her about bottle rockets and propulsion.
Right. And like you fire the bottle rocket off, it reaches an apogee, right? And then it falls back down. There's an arc to it, right?
Yeah, one of the
As far as
tasks that
propulsion.
it wasn't necessarily associated to the bottle rocket, but just for context, on one of the walls, somebody had done a 6 foot by 6 foot mural with an X and a guy with half of the dots of an arc, a parabolic trajectory, if you will, for a ball that he's throwing. So there's 3 balls, and the question is which one will hit the X, and they've just got to figure out that the one side of the parabola is going to match the other side, and then which one actually matches with the X. So it gives you an idea of how they were being taught. Anyway, there you go. Carry on. Sorry, my bad.
Right, yes. No, that's great. So they were using a horizontal to show the deviation from that horizontal,
That's right.
right?
That's right. On another 6 foot, this is no joke, on a 6 foot by 6 foot piece of paper that was enormous right next to it, it had a 90-degree angle being detailed. That's correct. I'm not joking. That is, I wish I'd taken a photo of it.
Now back to Righteous's point, how is that not FE?
It absolutely was FE. And when I saw the 90-degree, I went, "Ooh, I could launch it." No, I won't. No, I won't. Don't want to ruin everyone's day.
But just to go to my point really quickly, like, a lot of people are like falling out with their families and even lost their jobs because they're not really trained in this area as you trained your child. Does that make
It's
sense?
just being respectful. If I went to an Islamic state and just started jabbering on about Jesus, you'd understand a few furrowed brows, wouldn't you? Well, we live in a society that is heliocentric. So as much as it might pain people who feel like they've got the right to go around talking about flat Earth because they've been lied to, okay, yeah, that may very well be true, but it doesn't alter whether they know it or not, the religious belief that's being exercised in the Western world when it comes to heliocentrism. Now, the only argument against that is, well, they don't know it's a belief, and I'm going to damn well tell them. What gives you the right to do that? None. You don't. you know, it's a personal journey that you can explore yourself on your path. But when flat smacking, for instance, about 5 or maybe 6 years ago, maybe even longer, 7 years ago, the first instinct for a lot of people, not me, was to go out onto the street and flat smack. That is to say, put it out in a way that people just go, whoa, can't quite believe it, Earth's flat, to get the reaction on camera. And I was like, no, I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to do street activism. It's not my bag. If people find their way to us here, then wonderful. Now, obviously, when we were cobbled however many years ago by YouTube and stuck to the bottom of the list, that doesn't do my income revenue any good, but it doesn't necessarily affect it when everyone around notices it and goes, all right, we better give you direct financial support then, and they have. So you go, okay, well, that's kind of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But for those like Neil, and this is where you'll hopefully pipe up, Neil, who just want it to expand because it's more comfortable, I will assume. If everybody around you agrees, that makes life a little bit easier. Right, Neil?
Well, I agree with you. I wasn't into the flat smacking. Just when I had an opportunity at work, if it's brought up, I'm going to talk about it. But yeah, I wish it would get out there.
No, just to go back to my point, Nathan, when they were teaching about the eccentricity of that rocket, did they have a horizontal baseline for that parabola?
Yes, the parabola diagram was separate to the giant diagram of a 90-degree. But yes.
Okay. Well, they're doing an excellent job about teaching about flat Earth. Just because people haven't connected it in their minds yet, that comes with time. It's the information age, guys, and it just got started.
Yeah,
like 20 years ago.
Exactly. The same thing happened when I was explaining. I haven't moaned about it a great deal, but I've been a bit ill under the weather the last week, and one of the reasons was a giant pressure change, and one of my eardrums exploded years ago when I was on multiple flights, and it's just never really recovered. And if there's a big pressure change, it really messes me up, and I just lose my balance. So I'm having to explain this to, again, my eldest daughter. So just going like, here you go, here's a video on how the inner ear works. You can see where I'm probably going immediately, right, John? In terms of how they reference and describe what your inner ear does with those 3 sort of circular-ish shaped tubes in 3 orientations to tell you which way you're balancing or which way you're orientated. They're referencing it to horizontal the whole time. Well, again, in terms of what's being taught and how the world works, it's with respect to horizontal. Always. That's what it's trying to find and maintain. That's how it's being detailed. That's how the world works. And, it doesn't seem to matter which example you shove in front of people. So long as there's a class that has the title of science and says the world's a sphere, that's really all that's necessary. So long as you back that up with constant indoctrination through movies. That's really all that's needed.
And by the way, I know what you're chuckling about. John was supposed to speak, but I spoke.
Yes, that's right.
And we were just talking about referencing the horizontal. We were both kind of giggling about that, too.
Yeah.
I thought it was a school teacher you were talking about. That's why I was upset that you passed up the opportunity.
Not at all, no. The only school teachers I've ever known, my dad was a school teacher for many years. Even he taught out in Africa, taught out in Zambia, English, was a special needs teacher. He taught various different levels of schooling. Anyway, aside from him, I've known various other teachers. And the predominant thing that always stuck in my mind is better exampled by a sketch from Yes Minister. It might have been Yes Prime Minister. I don't know which way, but either way, an old 70s British sitcom about Parliament and the permanent secretaries that really run the country and the charade that is ministers. Okay? Well, while they're discussing the school system, right, the permanent secretary has to explain to the minister that everything that's done in regards to schools and the school system really has nothing to do with the children. It's all about the teachers. That's all it's relevant to. Now, when it comes to the permanent secretary's education, this is the main discussion point because they're suggesting that children should be given their school placement by way of the parents' choice. And they're saying, no, that's not how it should be. We should decide where these children go, right? Anyway, the minister asks the permanent secretary, well, what school did you go to? And he tells him, and he says, well, who chose that school? He said, my parents. It's like, but it's a posh private school that costs a lot of money. So therefore, obviously, that argument ensues. Now, the whole point of me prefacing this is every time I've spoken to a teacher, 99% of the discussion won't involve children. It'll involve the paperwork, their salary, their gripes about the school and the system, the headmaster and the working hours, the whatever. But very little will actually ever be discussed about the children. Ever. When I've spoken to teachers. Because it just doesn't, it seems like, while it's, no, how could it be the last priority when that's the main purpose? Well, because it just is that way. And having been through the school system, you should all know that. You went through it, right? Yeah, you were young, but surely you can remember it. How much care and attention did you get as an individual when you were in the school system? Now, I went through, again, many different schools, one of which was a posh private school. Now, in that school, the education was entirely different to what most people received in a general high school education, or whatever you want to term it as, state education. It was totally different. They're not teaching the trivium to kids in high school. They're not teaching them logic. That's not how it works. So, the type of education that people get is indicative of, not necessarily how well they'll do in life, but what they'll be controlled by in the case of state education, in my humble opinion. Now, I absolutely cannot afford, as my parents could, back when I was in school, to put my two children into a private school. I'd love to, if I could put them into a wonderful school where there's 6 kids in a class and very specific education tailored to each kid for $5,000 a term, probably $10,000 a term these days. Then I would do that, but there's no way I can do that. What can I do? Well, I can offer them an education myself at the detriment of my earning potential and my wife's earning potential. Well, how many years is it the kids are growing up and being educated? In the big scheme of things, not very many. Therefore, I don't see it as a very long-term sacrifice to be poor for a bit so I can make sure my kids are educated. Anyway, there's my rant over. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, see, the way the public education system is set up, and people may disagree with it, they make allotments to teach logic and reason. They just don't teach it to everybody. Because the guy that's pulling a lever for the rest of his life, it is not necessary for him to understand logic and reason. But now, they do give this thing called an intelligence quotient, right? And kids that are at a certain level will receive a more in-depth education within the public school system, where you get those 6 to 10 kids in one classroom. That happens in public school. It's just, you have to remember, why would you teach everybody how to question things when some people, how's it gonna benefit them?
Ask Neil, because that's what we do here quite specifically. And Neil wants the whole wide world to be exposed to what we do. Now, I'm not questioning whether that's beneficial or detrimental to society or us or anything else. I'm just going to ask Neil, why do you want that?
Why do I want what? People to understand they're this flat?
Yeah, when you say people, that's the bit I'm focused on. The sort of generalised populace that John has just described as being unworthy in the school mind's eye system, other than the select few. Whereas you're saying, no, the general populace should be aware. And in terms of what they're being made aware of is what we do. And that's critical thinking skills, isn't it? Primary source research, logic, reason, all the stuff in the trivium, basically.
Well, one of my main reasons is I'm Christian, and a lot of people don't believe in God because they think we're on a spinning water ball. So that's my motivation. If people would realize,
I think that's true.
What's that?
I just think that's true. I think there's plenty of Christians that are on that aren't removed from God because of heliocentrism.
Yes, I understand that. That's part of the reason too. And if they would start coming around, then maybe Christians would wake up and realize what the truth of God's word is. We're not
Well, hold
on a
on.
freaking
Stop. That's a
sphere.
crap. Hold on. If you contradict yourself within the answer, then that's not a motivation. Do you understand? That's a crap answer now because you've contradicted it. So that can't be the motivation because if it's because that's being taken away from God, but yes, you wish Christians would also find their way to flat Earth. Those two things are in contradiction. So what's your motivation? Still stands on the table. It's still on the table for you, Neil. Why do you want everyone to
No,
know?
I don't understand. Hold on. I don't understand how you don't understand that. For the regular world to understand, oh, shoot, we are created. There you go, bing. And then for the Christian so-called people to get a handle on the word of God and understand that we're on a flat earth, how is that a contradiction? I'm covering two ends there.
Maybe. Okay, if that's your answer, fine. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe I'll get knocked for my indifference to it, because I'm kind of nonchalant to it, which is to say, I can just switch it off. I don't actually care. So earlier, where you would have been motivated to tell that person, let me just clear my throat. Where you would have been motivated to tell that quote unquote teacher about flat Earth, I wasn't motivated to do that. And what I assessed in that moment, how well will my eldest daughter cope with this question? Is she well poised or well positioned to cope at a societal level when presented with something that she knows doesn't comport with what she's been educated with? What will she do in this moment? My motivation isn't, I must teach this random stranger of flat Earth. No, that didn't cross my mind. How well will my daughter do with this? That's all I was assessing.
Why should it even be that way anyway? I know it's a stupid question, but why can't people just say, hey, I don't believe that. I believe we're on a flat surface. Why can't it be that's it? Why does it got to be this ridicule that comes along with it?
Why have you got to express that? Why do you feel motivated to tell people that you understand that?
Well, in your situation, now that you explained it, maybe I wouldn't have been motivated. But if she would ask my child if they want to go to space, I would say space is fake. So why are you telling my child or asking my child if they want to go to a fake region? And then I would have an open door to explain.
Yeah, but that's a very specific.
Without containment.
No, I get that in regards to the topic we're talking about, but that's a very specific scenario that's not in line with general normie being told. That's what I'm driving at, Neil.
Oh, then I don't know, because I don't go around shouting flat Earth. I'm totally against that. Totally against Nathan Thompson and all of that fucking. I don't do that. If it's brought up in conversation, I'll deal with it.
I mean, I'm not against people doing it. More power to you if you want to do street activism and if you want to do quote unquote flat smacking. More power to you, right? I've got nothing against that. I'm just saying it's not what I want to do.
well, here's something to think about as a matter of responsibility, right? A lot of people, when they figure it out, their first reaction is to think they're trapped, right? That someone's holding them in a container against their will. Now, if you express that out to a larger population, what are people likely to do when they think they're imprisoned by someone?
Panic, trying to escape.
Yeah. Do you think that would be a good reaction if people waged war on the container?
I've questioned this before, perhaps in a kind of greater good triumphing over the potential of societal collapse kind of way. That would be a speculation that is it that the heliocentric model is actually designed to keep us under control, because if it wasn't in place, we would tear ourselves apart based on what John has just described, right? Sudden onset of panic. I would suggest not. I would suggest that based on the amount of times I've been asked, well, what difference does it make? The indifference level would be high.
I can't understand. I can't, John, you drive me crazy when you say that. And you know you do. With this freaking prison that we must be in. And thank God they put us on a sphere. Those people would have anarchy. That drives me nuts that you think that way.
I don't think that way now.
Speculating.
Other people do, though.
Having a bit of fun, Neil. Just
What do they
speculating.
like to say?
Not live. We're not live yet. Just having a bit of fun.
Shit. Fucking car.
Chill out. No swearing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just made a bad turn.
Right,
I gotta
here's the
stay
thing.
focused when I'm driving.
Here's the thing, Neil. I don't think that way, but I have heard enough people express the idea of being trapped or imprisoned to know that other people think that way. Not all of them. I'm not stereotyping, but there are people that think that way. And if they had to accept that they were within a contained system, I think they would react badly to it.
Yes, there is a potential that there'd be a rebellion amongst the agoraphobes.
Not just the agoraphobes. Like, who was that one guy? He didn't believe in flat Earth because he didn't want to believe he was trapped on Earth, right? That was his reason for not accepting this, right? So, and if you expand that out to the greater population, how many people would react that way? And would it be significant enough that people would be, because panic is catching like fire,
Yeah, but it's not like you're on a little 1 mile freaking area. Come on, this place is huge. Who's gonna feel trapped here? They're gonna feel maybe a motivation to seek out what else is there. And Nathan, and real quick, who's that guy? I can't think of his name, and it's driving me crazy. The guy, he was just on recently with you, and I think he was having a hard time with the elevation angle and everything. But he was complaining that you curse too much, and maybe you should handle it a different way. Until he went into a debate, and then he realized why you are the way you are. What was his name?
It wouldn't be the agoraphobes, because agoraphobia is a fear of open spaces. So an agoraphobe would be someone scared of the vastness of space. It would be the claustrophobes that would have an issue and rise up in rebellion because of the, oh my God, we're enclosed. We can't escape from the vast area of space that we have to inhabit. Yeah, it's terrible.
That was his name, agoraphobe?
So we're trying to justify their irrational beliefs or correct them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are people, like Neil said, who would want to explore further. And then they would find out that, there's walls to this container wherever they may be.
Will they?
Well, there'll be a limit to how far they can go. There has to be a limit.
Well, we don't know, though. Maybe it's unreachable,
Okay, so
John.
gas just expands infinitely in all directions.
No, it doesn't. I mean, there must be...
No,
hold on, let's
I
just clear
didn't
this
say
up.
that. I said maybe it's unreachable.
No, only in the sky. Where they've placed all the new land to discover is in the very place that we can't traverse to explore, and the containment must be. There must, at some stage, be, above us, some form of containment. That is without question. Now, in terms of how high and how wide, we've no idea. But the fear of said containment, when that's what's giving us the gas pressure we're breathing, is just unnecessary. And, like you say, the claustrophobes only.
No, it wouldn't just be them. It would be the extremely inquisitive minds, the people that want to know what's outside the container. There would be those people would join in. There are a lot of different kinds of people who it may not be necessarily beneficial to. Just as like in my example of why does the guy pulling the lever need to know anything about logic and reason? All he needs to know is pull that lever at this time to get this product to move. And you can feed your family, right? So,
sure, but there's also an illusion of control that Dubay covered, right? Now, we critique this in regards to him suggesting that there's a whole string of police on the 60th parallel stopping you from exploring. That was it. This thing on?
Nathan, you didn't give me that guy's name.
What guy?
The guy that came in and he was in chat, I guess, saying that he loves the show, but the cursing, you could do without it. You should do it a different way. And then he went into a debate and started swearing his ass off. Kiwi's public relation guy. What was his name, that guy?
Rebel.
Rebel. Thank you.
Yeah, I get that a lot. People got critical of my temperament, and then whatever period elapses, and they'll come back to me and go, "Yeah, I got into a wrangle dangle and immediately lost my temper with this person because they did this and this and this."
I couldn't think of the guy's name for nothing. Thank you.
Yes, that is armchair quarterbacking. So while we might have been potentially overly critical while we're doing or critiquing other people who are in the fight with us, not necessarily armchair quarterbacking. We're all a very incohesive team. That's the problem, right? Whereas when people in the comment section that have never got in front of anybody and debated anything ever start telling me I should keep my temper, it's like, you're welcome to have a go yourself and see how you get on. Don't get me wrong, nobody's perfect. And I've got my, I'm not saying their critique is wrong either. Four minutes.
Going back to what you just said, though, well, I was just thinking about what you do is, then that means really then the wake up is it's only ever going to be what it's going to be now, isn't it? Like people trickling through, and you know what I mean? Or
Yeah. That problem. I mean, other than my revenue from ads, I mean, yeah, that is the case.
yeah, I've never thought of it like that. I suppose I've always thought of like the more awareness is waking more. You know what I mean? Like everywhere it becomes, people could become more aware. But really, in reality, because obviously we're all just mocked and laughed at, it's just going to stay like that, really, isn't it? In one sense.
No, I don't get mocked and laughed at. Today, nobody mocked me. Like I say, it depends on what you want out of it. If your ambition is to let everybody else know what you know, and you go about trying to achieve that, and as a result of that aspiration, you get mocked and ridiculed, then you've only got yourself to blame. Now, obviously, here, we are opening ourselves up and the door to people to come in and challenge us on our faith proactively. Now, that's when the tables turn.
But that's why
Yeah,
this
so
show is so that's why this show is so important and also important to it, because this is it. I mean, everyone I know, I always lead them here. I say, listen, don't go anywhere else. You just got to come, because you disseminate absolutely everything, and everything gets brought on the table, and the feast of nonsense gets shut down so quick. And I think it's so wonderful.
and to add to what Nathan said earlier, that's it. People are mixing how it is on the show with how it's supposed to be when you're out there everyday life, so to say.
Yeah, the internet is not the world that you inhabit. This is a different world.
It's different a bit, yeah, or a lot. But even like the way it is on the show and how it's handled and how it's structured, it's not like that how it is when you're out there. But people seem to mix the two up. They think it should be like I should talk to people like Nathan Oakley, so to say, when he's on the show and dealing with anti-FE. When realistically, we're out there in real life and we're just dealing with normies, right? It's very different.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to be out there proactively ruining people's day. And people are getting on with their life and happy, and they haven't got any intrinsic connection to heliocentrism beyond the general surface level indoctrination that they're all indoctrinated by, then you don't have any place to really change that. I mean, what's in it for them? It's just to help you affirm your own faith in flat Earth, then that's very selfish.
You talk about this with your family members when you get the family togethers?
Yeah, of course. They know what I do for a living.
Yeah, but you won't fight about it, right?
No, I mean, I did initially 7 or 8 years ago, perhaps.
Yes,
But
that's exactly it. It's like even me when I first got into FE, originally I was a little too outspoken about it, but then I started reeling it in when I started seeing the results. That's what you did too,
Listen,
right?
it's like anything else, right? You find something, you want to share it. That's all. Then you get wisdom on the way. It's the same thing with Christianity. Come to Christ, you
Yeah.
want to tell everybody about it until you start getting kicked around.
Yeah, but with Christianity, if you want to use Christianity, remember Jesus said, "I have more to say to you, but you cannot yet bear." Paul said the same thing. So you gotta assess the situation where people are at, right? And it's just Neil.
Hey, good afternoon.
just Neil? What do you mean, just Neil? Outrageous.
Sorry, Neil.
Yes, we have the great Neil with us. That's correct. How you doing, Neil?
It's
Well, that's good to know. I'm going to be leaning on Discord, it seems. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
none.
Not since 2020 with Black Swan.
But surely a tangent solves this. No, no one's taken the bait. Any evidence of axial
Yeah, I got it.
rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Gonna need a flat plane for that.
You are going to need a flat plane to a certain axes.
Hello.
Hello,
Good
Arwen.
afternoon.
Hello.
Where's everybody?
Hello. Sunbathing?
Huh.
Who knows?
Sunbathing.
Who knows? We're running a live show. Let's not concern ourselves. There's plenty of people here. A whole Discord full of people.
all right.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, I can't see it right now, so does it if you can't see the sun, does it still exist?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Any claim of a distance to the sun will need an elevation angle for it.
Yeah, but that won't give you the distance
And the radius value, right?
of the sun that you're looking at. No.
No, it requires a radius value of the Earth, wasn't it?
To infer that you can have a distance at 93 million miles, then you're going to need a whole string of assumptions. First, you'll need a calculation that gives you the differential between eye level and surface level to infer that there is a geometric marked with an X labeled horizon position below surface level inferred to be Earth curve. Now, based on the geometry of said sphere Earth radius 3959, you can then take that radius, superimpose it onto Venus, and then take Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to derive all of the scale of the known universe at 93 million miles for the sun. Now, in order to do that, the first thing that you started with was a flat Earth. So no, hopefully that's clear enough for you, Owen. We move on.
Where did I hear that then?
What the freak?
He's just cursing at his car off mute. We'll just move on if that's okay, Arwen. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No evidence, but there's evidence of a freaking boot on my car.
Oh, you've got a clamp.
Son of a bitch.
Okay. Did you park somewhere you shouldn't have?
I parked in Subways to go right next door to Chick-fil-A to pick up an order. I said, a tow truck guy's here, so I had to pay him $75. I said, how do they know I'm not buying anything in there? He goes, they're closed. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
$75.
Anyway.
Have you got it taken off?
Yeah, I had to. I got to do a delivery. I had to pay him freaking $75, take a boot off the car that I just missed by a freaking minute, actually.
Extortion.
He said I was going to tow you.
Oh, at least he didn't tow you. Now get out of Dodge quick sharp. $75 lighter. I had a similar thing happen in London. I went and did a service call for a rich client. It was Al McPherson's husband. I won't bore you with the Al McPherson story, but the job itself involved me just rewiring up a hi-fi in a really nice part of London. And he gave me a 50 quid tip. And then the moment I walked outside, I had a 50 quid ticket on the car. There we go. I suppose there was no tip for you today. Certainly not a $75 one, I'm in no doubt. Anyway, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, maybe of the 4 mass attracting mass,
Mass
even
doesn't
though it's
attract
not claimed.
mass. Mass doesn't attract mass.
About those experiments, yeah, I'm going to call them experiments just to diss you, of like some ball being attracted to a mountain side or something.
You can show me that occurring naturally. I'll buy whatever you've
It's
got to sell.
officially like on Wikipedia, right? There are cases where they do say like, yeah, this mountain somewhere in, where was it? Somewhere in Sweden, or was it in Denmark or something? That's supposedly.
I'm sorry, I've got to cut you off. I've got to read
mass
Retro Bill's
attracting
super chat. I'm really sorry, Arwin. Retro Bill says, I've already read this in advance, which is why I'm chuckling. Friday fun fact. If you watch The Matrix backwards, it's about a guy who quits drugs and finds a job.
That's hilarious.
It is when you think about it. Yeah, the worse his drug habit gets, the more he goes into this fantasy world. Very good. Thank you for the super chat, Retro Brill. That's really tickled me. Okay, let's move on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope. They could, but they
Those
don't.
are not the natural sciences. Those are pseudosciences.
They are pseudosciences, that's correct. But for them to defy that, they'd have to offer up, at the very least, a viable hypothesis. Hence, we're asking for it, because they claim to be over the, the banner over their door is claimed to be science. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? Someone got video to cover, by the way, because when we run out of housekeeping questions, we're going to run out of housekeeping questions, and we've got video to cover, so you know. End of the week, clearly. Everyone's buggered off early. Everyone's taken an early lunch. Shout out to Iron26, who says, here's my donation to Neil's parking ticket. Thank you very much for the super chat. Nothing will be given to Neil, though. I'm really sorry to defy your intentions with your super chat. Elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? Anybody at all?
Well, didn't Jaron say it was perfectly fine?
I had 2 people at once. As I haven't heard much from Jorge Arwin. Go ahead, Jorge.
No, that's not even geometry. You can't do that. That's not part of geometry. You cannot have an elevation angle from a curved surface. You need a horizontal baseline in order to do an elevation angle from.
Right, like on screen right now. Go ahead, Arwin.
Oh, couldn't you use curved geometry to do it?
No. The inference that
not
you've got...
not for elevation. No,
exactly. Gas pressure requires container, says Bible U. We haven't got there yet. Jumping the gun, Paula. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
Negative.
Are you even going to try to test it again?
What, off a flat plane with P waves and S waves?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to claim any of this, you're going to have to. You're going to need to have a baseline to do so. A flat plane.
As Paul has already answered it in the chat. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Yes. You
Well,
just need
without
a
the balloon, there
syringe.
can be no pressure.
Right on,
You
Jorge.
just
Without
need a syringe.
container. Without the container, there can be no pressure. Shout out to Conspiracy Cats. We haven't got a video, by the way. When I run out of housekeeping questions, we're gonna have a we're gonna have a struggle on our hands because I've got nothing to do. I mean, maybe we could listen to One Deck's amazing One Deck remix, but that'd probably get me a copyright strike.
If he would give that.
More importantly, is somebody going to dig out a video for us to cover and react to? Because I've got literally nothing when we run out of these housekeeping questions. Which I'm pretty sure we have. Is that it? I think we've covered them all, right?
Where the hell is everybody today?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's super exciting that we've got nothing to cover. Because we're literally going to sit here and chit chat like it's the pre-show. John's vanished. Wonderful, eh?
Right, and I
I'm
was
here, but
just
I'm
gonna
full
go
of
on to
globe
groceries, so I was gonna leave too.
Oh well, don't. Oh, don't, because otherwise this will be a terrible show. What was that, Gene?
I'll
Go
wait
ahead.
until somebody gets here.
Go ahead, Gene.
I said I'm here, but I'm only full of globe lies.
Like what?
No, I got nothing, guys. I'm gonna look for a video.
Fair enough. Oh, we've got Sleeping Warrior. Is he going to save our bacon with a subject to discuss? Let's see.
Hey,
Hey, Sleeping Warrior. Long time.
You're looking for a video, Nathan?
Yes.
Bev Try Thinking had a whole show dedicated to you yesterday.
Oh, really?
oh
Yeah.
God.
If he's got a show
Basically,
dedicated
what-
to me, just caveat, that means that he's going to have clips of me talking, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
That's no good.
he's reviewing your review of Jaren and Brenda. And when you're trying to explain to Brenda how there's supposed to be a hill in front of her, and she said, no, there's not. And you're trying to argue with her that there's a hill, a geometric hill. Bev doesn't like you battering Brenda for some reason. And he basically takes all the context out of what you say and basically he tries to make you say, he's saying things like, nobody says that there's a hill there. And I'm like, this is just awful, but you should definitely review it, Nathan, right now, because it's terrible. His show from last night.
I would if it wasn't for the fact that he's reviewing someone, and now we're going to review him reviewing us reviewing someone else. It's too convoluted, especially if I'm part of the
That sounds
video.
like a terrible show.
Yeah, it will be. But I appreciate. However, let's not jump the gun, because excellent for us to now talk about it, especially as you've watched it and you can comment on it as you have just done. I mean, Bev, I don't know why I'm living rent-free in Bev's head. There's no reason for him to be my enemy. Yeah, I'll point out his stupid nonsense that he says. You can do F all with an angle, as an example. But beyond me pointing out his own stupid words, just don't say stupid nonsense. But other than that, why am I living rent-free in Bev's head?
I don't know. All I can say is that when Jaren was battering Brenda and you were supporting Jaren because he was battering Brenda, for some reason, Bev he takes all the context to what was being argued and the fact that Brenda doesn't understand that there's supposed to be a geometric curve edge. And even if it's refracted, it's got a set distance and it can never be flat. It can only ever be at a set distance. That's the context. And all he's doing is bastardizing that context and saying things like, nobody would ever say that there was a hill in front of you. And it's just totally
perfect.
It's just awful.
But you were here when I vaguely remember you being here, Anthony. You might correct me on that. When Tim Osman was here. Now, he didn't say nobody saying a hill gets in the way, because that's how I phrased it. He said, one step better, nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. End quote, Tim Osman. Now, there are many other examples that I often parrot off in a nice long list, but we'll just keep it nice and simple and a couple of characters to talk about, right? Tim Osman, after being presented with the Black Swan, and upon presenting a set of horizons titled, This is Earth Curve, said the following statement. I repeat, quote, nobody is claiming the horizon is Earth curve, end quote, Tim Osman. That is the result, that is the effect of the Black Swan. When you understand it, and you're a baller. Well, I'm not claiming the horizon's a physical Earth curve getting in the way. Yeah, that's exactly what you're claiming. Here's your maths for it, Dumbo. It's marked with an X and labelled horizon. No, that's the non-refracted horizon. We've only got one horizon. Your horizon is a geometric hill getting in the way.
I do love the fact that Brenda's like claimed ownership of the Black Swan now, personally. So it's now known as Brenda's Black Swan, because now Brenda, for some reason, she thinks that I can't remember what her point was now, but whatever it was that she said, Jerem went through it, and she said, "I'm taking this back now, and you guys cannot have this and whatever." And like, we're all happy to leave it with Brenda, because if Brenda's going to put her name to it and not misunderstand that it's about the distance to the horizon, whether it be refracted or not, and it's not the leading edge of a sphere, it's not geometric. If she doesn't understand that point, and she now wants to claim it as Brenda's Black Swan, I mean, aside from good alliteration, it's a really good way of demonstrating how ball earthers still don't understand the bloody argument. And then you got Bev attacking you based on your trying to explain why Brenda doesn't understand it. And I'm like, the tone in his voice, he was so aggressive. It was like he was losing his temper, and you weren't even there to lose your temper with. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, you are literally, I don't know what's wrong with him. There's something not right with him. I don't know. You are living rent free in his head for some reason, and I have no explanation for why.
Oh well, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea either. I don't give much thought to Bev. You know, it's more understandable. I'm only pondering it now because it's more understandable when it's some baller that is having their paradigm taken away from them with some argument they can't overcome. But that's not the case with Bev. He's basically just a flat earther with a unique selling point that he denies Earth's flatness based on topology changes with reference to a flat baseline. Well, okay, well, if that's his stance, so he's got his unique selling point, then great, good for you. Now, if his objection is, I don't like you saying the part where you claim I'm a flat earther in that, oh well, never mind. You don't have to like it.
What Bev's doing, Bev's having a conversation with only himself. There is nobody else in Bev's conversation, because Bev conflates the word smooth with the word flat. Now, nobody in this topic denies mountains and valleys. I've told them this many times. No one denies that. We all accept that. The point that Bev seems to ignore is that if you go from one side of the states to the other side, east to west or west to east, yeah, there's mountains and valleys in the way, there's relief, there's terrain, we all accept that. The issue is if you get to the other side of the country and you haven't followed the geometric curve of the Earth, regardless of whether you've had terrain between A and B or not, then it isn't a sphere, it's not spherical. Now, because there is terrain, he goes, well, that disproves that the Earth's flat. And I'm like, no, that means that the Earth's not smooth. Flat references two distances from A to B, and whether you get from A to B and follow curvature or not is irrelevant. You've got to either, whether you've got mountains and valleys between A and B is irrelevant. You've either got to follow a curved path or you don't. You're deviating along the path with relief along the way isn't negating a flat Earth. It's just meaning the Earth's not smooth. Nobody says that the Earth's smooth. Bev's having his very own unique conversation with nobody else, and no one disagrees with him.
A quick question for you, Anthony.
Bev.
When you talk about the topology changes that Bev denies flat Earth with, what are they in reference to? How do you know how high or low? With reference to what?
Well, with sea level, isn't it?
Right, a horizontal baseline.
Wow, the bendizontal baseline, horizontal,
horizontal baseline, like the one you drew out when we first realised this with Google Earth. You remember what you did to recognise this fact with Google Earth?
Go on, remind me.
Elevation profiles.
Yeah, the elevation profiles are flat.
Yeah. When you're talking about how high or low a mountain is, or indeed how deep a trench in the ocean is, you can draw out across the whole of the surface of Earth in Google Earth Pro, an elevation profile. And it'll draw it in a horizontal box that shows you how high or low the mountain or valley is with respect to level. Well, there's no curve Earth in that process. There's a deviation from a standard 0 point, up or down. But overall, the topology is irrelevant. The ground, the reference point, the Earth is flat.
I agree. Topology itself is irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether there's a mountain in front of you or whether there's a valley in front of you and you're somewhere in the middle. It don't matter. What matters is if you go from one side of the world, or like East Coast to West Coast of America, are you following a curved trajectory along the way? Yeah, deviations up and down. We all accept there's terrain, but we're not saying that the Earth's smooth, Bev. We're saying that there's no curvature. And the other thing is, 99% of the time, we're not even referencing the land. When we're referencing the curvature, we're almost always referencing water. Now, we know that water will fill a valley and it'll fill it level, and they say that level is curved. But when Bev says, oh, well, mountains and valleys, well, we need to focus, forget about the mountains and valleys on the land. You can't measure that. It's difficult to measure at best, right? But it's very easy to measure whether water is curving or not, and there's no evidence of it curving.
Hold on, stop. When you talk about water curving, how would you describe the difference in elevation if water were curving? How would you describe it? With reference to what?
A curved datum, so it would be wouldn't it?
No, the datum itself has to be in reference to a horizontal baseline. Always.
Unless you warp space-time and then use bendizontal, and then it can be level.
No, we're talking about physical reality. Don't do that to me. How dare you?
Well, yeah, you would have to reference it to a tangential line, wouldn't you, and assume globe Earth?
A tangential line? No. When you're talking about the relief in terms of the topology, or in your case, when I'm specifically detailing what you described with bendy water, okay, how much the water deviates from horizontal.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's how much it deviates from horizontal. So you need horizontal for it to deviate from.
Yeah, but remember though, Nathan, I'm assuming that the Earth's a globe, and I'm assuming that the level is a curved line, and I'm assuming that the straight line dating point that you're calling
that's where you're going
horizontal.
Wrong. When you say I'm assuming level is curved, level isn't curved. It defies a principle that that's why I used it as an example. For you to describe the deviation of a curved line in water or otherwise, you're going to describe the deviation from the horizontal. So you need a horizontal reference to begin with. That's true for... I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there for Anthony. Hello. All those who have already got this. That's true for us and true for globe earthers, Anthony. This whole bendizontal shite. That's wrong.
But Nathan, I've got one cherry-picked dictionary definition that disagrees with you. I know that 39 other dictionary definitions all say the same thing, and that level is a straight line. But I've got that one cherry-picked one that supports my argument, and because of that, I'm going to simply rely on that, ignore all the other ones, and claim that that's perfectly acceptable to curve the straight line and call it level.
It is until your mathematics and the geometry thereof has levels that are level in order to reference the maths and geometry of your curve. In other words, if you're going to assert as a ball earther that straight lines or horizontal lines are actually bent, then how are you going to reference horizontal lines that aren't bent in the geometry? For example, surface level and eye level. Those aren't bendizontal lines. They must be straight and horizontal to reference other things to them. That's why they draw out tangents, because they must reference something.
I'd have them as convex or concave lines, depending on which perspective you take.
You can't change these.
They're straight when you have
axiomatic principles don't change, regardless of who's using them. It doesn't matter if you're a glober or a flatty. The principle must stand. Their get out of bendizontal is a fail.
So you didn't listen to me then. I would curve the straight line so that it's flexing the other way, so that when the geometry is bending against it, that brings it back to a straight line.
That's your misconception of terrestrial refraction by the sounds of things. Brian would have words. No, that isn't actually what happens, although we were misled to believe that's what's happening when they cross-reference it with air and what we see. No, they actually only unbend the radius of the ground. I didn't know this about a month ago, actually, Anthony. It's nice to catch up, by the way. So if Brian was here, he'd explain this better than me. But it's obvious when you actually hear what they detail in terrestrial refraction, right? The equation in standard form is 7/6 of the radius. That's nothing to do with an extra line for light to traverse, and everything to do with the radius itself. So what that value actually does is not bend light through air. unbends the curve of the Earth because it's directly linked to the R value. So it's only altering the R value of Earth, not the line of sight. Do you understand?
Yeah, I think so.
Brian would have to explain this better. He's obviously, you know what he's like on a Thursday night. Thursday's the new Friday for an Irishman.
Right. Well, let's not follow that tangent line because that could take us into all sorts of mischief. But so the point I was going to get to was that a lot of ball earthers will cite Einstein when Einstein said that there's no reason that the universe should conform to Euclidean geometry. And initially, I agreed with that because why should? Who said that the universe should follow that? There is no reason for it to. However, because trigonometry works, and because you need straight lines and measured angles and distances then can be verified or calculated and then verified later, because all that actually does work, that in itself does mandate that we're using Euclidean geometry and straight lines.
Correct.
So
exactly, you do get this. So you were just leading me on for the conversation. Yeah. So you understand this implicitly then. Exactly. You're going to need your Cartesian grid and your geometric axioms to all hold true. That means Bendizontal's out the window.
Correct. Bendizontal has to be out the window. Now that doesn't necessarily follow that the Earth must be flat. So when you're driving past in your Ferrari going, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. I think that's one step too far for them at the minute because they don't get it. What you should be shouting is,
nobody did that. Nobody did that.
Yeah, well, you do, because the minute you say anything about straight lines or angles or anything like that, you've latched onto the Ferrari driving past, going, "You're going to need a flat Earth for that." What you should be shouting out the window.
There's got to be a practical example that has a shortcut by pointing out that the process we're detailing in that moment has a starting point with a flat baseline. Once that's been pointed out, you then make the Ferrari noise, Lamborghini.
That's
noises.
right. Yeah, you've got to point out the application or the applied Euclidean geometry, and then you can do that because they won't get it yet.
Yes, that's correct. You can't just go. If somebody just says the word angle, and you go, "Oh, you're going to need a flat." No. It's got to be contextualized in terms of what's being put into practical application on the ground in reality on Earth, for it to be a decent. Just a decent gag, just to be funny. It's got to actually make sense, hasn't it?
Yeah. But I don't think, given that they don't understand the Black Swan argument still, they don't understand it's to do with the distance to the horizon. And nothing to do with the...
Who's they?
Nothing to do with the... Well, in this instance, I'm referencing like Bev, Brenda, all those idiots, right? Because they don't understand the argument still. And I just... Because they don't understand the arguments... They still think that it seemed to be something about refraction and the cranes or the oil platforms, and they don't recognise that it's got nothing to do with them, but for the fact that they're acting like a ruler and they're showing that the distance is way further than what it should be. They still don't get that. So that's because they don't understand that.
It's because they can't read. So in the Black Swan argument, if you recite it, it doesn't mention the oil rigs. The argument's very specifically about the horizon, distance to horizon. In the Earth curve maths, 1.2 times. That's about the horizon. Now, what are the oil rigs?
Did you notice?
Go on.
Did you notice that when Brenda tried to challenge Jaren on that point, when she had it actually on screen and all she had to do was actually read the words that were on screen, not only did she stutter and stumble and fluff it, it went a bit further than that for me, because if you watch her facial expression, cognitive dissonance is that thing where you can't accept the evidence that's presented before your very eyes because it makes you feel that uncomfortable. You just reject it out hand. Well, Brenda was basically doing that. It was like that scene in Liar Liar where he's got the pen in his hand, is blue or red, whatever it was, and he was trying to deliberately lie and he was trying to say it was a different color and he couldn't do it because he had to tell the truth. Well, Brenda was doing that when she was trying to recite the Black Swan argument, because she just couldn't say the words that were on the page accurately to make the point. She had to stutter and stumble it and fluff it up so that you filled in the gaps for her on her behalf, because she just couldn't say it. If she had to actually say it, if she spat the words out the way it was written, she wouldn't be able to deny the first part of it, which is what she ended up doing, and then denying that we live on a spherical Earth. And when Jaren pointed it out to her, and you pointed it out to her, she still doesn't understand it. And the facial expressions with her being on camera was just beautiful. Check it back. Go back and watch what she does. It's the most
Anthony.
uncomfortable. Go on.
She would have to relinquish her belief in the globe if she read it out the way it's supposed to be read out. You're right on point.
It was the personification of the most uncomfortable example ever of a ball earther citing back an accurate recite of the Black Earth of the Black Swan argument. You could see her, and you could see her struggling so bad. Just honestly, just play it back and watch it. She can't do it. It's brilliant.
We watched it. She called the geometric horizon the genetic horizon.
But when she was trying to get it to Jaren, like she couldn't even get the words out. It's like she was like trying to speak French or something, and Jaren knew what she was trying to say, and he just glossed over it because he, in the heat of the moment, he was.
Oh, you read that wrong. No. What I perceived was Jaren reading weakness.
I perceived he glossed over it and just allowed her to fluff it up and then address the point.
That's what I mean. No, that's what I mean. In that moment, he allowed her to fluff and stutter and stammer his way around it. But I perceived by his actions thereafter that he just perceived weakness. And it stamped her down and said, "You've got 1 minute to respond." It was just epic. It was absolutely brilliant.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'd have to watch it again.
Devastating point.
But the beauty of this thing with Bev last night is that whilst you were giving Jaren praise for the correct demolition of Brenda on that point, for some reason, Bev's got to try and stamp all over it and say things, stupid things. And I'm like, the context is destroying Brenda with paraphrasing because Brenda doesn't get it. There's only so many times you can tell somebody A, B, and C, right? And if they don't understand A, B, and C, you've got to think of another way to explain A, B, and C. And you were trying to do it in a different way because she doesn't get A, B, and C. And Bev's jumping all over you saying, nobody says E, F, and G. And it's like, yeah, that's because Brenda doesn't understand it in its normal, like the way it's normally said. And I was just like, what are you trying to do, Bev? You kind of like, you're trying to attack Nathan because Brenda is too stupid to realize that she's wrong. And Nathan's dumbing it down in the best way that he can with a paraphrasing because she doesn't understand it and you're attacking him on the paraphrasing. What is wrong with you? Don't you understand this?
Yeah, but
That's
Brenda
a
says that
freaking
the peace
idiot.
statement on the Molostolans is wrong. She disagrees with the statement that the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. She disagrees with that. She says she owns that argument now. So she's basically admitting that the Earth is not a sphere with a radius 3959 miles.
Correct. That was her opener.
So stupid.
Exactly. Her opener was to say the peace statement's wrong. All right. Well, the peace statement says Earth's a sphere with the exact radius you say it is.
And do you know what? It's beautiful, but I don't know why she would do this. It's literally putting a gun to your own head and pulling the trigger, and she doesn't realize it because like. But it was beautiful, and I just
You actually have a term for that. It's called bull-jitsu.
Bull-jitsu, I like that.
Hey, that's a good one.
We need to get a lexicon together. I remember Infinite Plane Society did this. I've nicked a couple of his terms, actually. So the tip of the spear, I nicked that from him, along with this that I'm going to steal now. So credit where it's due. But yeah, we need to get a lexicon together, like some of these terms that we use.
The other thing I thought was very interesting was that when she was criticizing the moon, and Jaren said, like, I don't know what the moon is. And I totally agree with Jaren on that. I don't know what the moon is. And neither do they. Is it a concrete noun or is it somewhat metaphysical? Who cares? But they've got all these maths and calculations and trigonometry, which is all applied Euclidean geometry, where straight lines do exist. And you got Brenda here bending the horizontal and making it into a curved line. And it's like, hang on a minute, you don't see the paradox here. On the one hand, you're calculating the moon and the distances to the moon with beliefs and all this, but you're using Euclidean geometry and you're insisting that it's 240 to 280,000 miles away. And they don't see that paradox. But Brenda was saying, like,
that's where I get to do my car. You're going to need a flat earth for that.
Yeah,
well, I'd say, hang on, Nathan, you're going to need Euclidean geometry for that.
Yeah, flat plane.
Yeah, don't make too much of a jump because they'll not get it. Most people won't get that. You jump in a step there.
You've already done it. Yeah, we are live. People can hear you.
I know. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was when she was saying, well, why is it that it's like, she basically brought up like a newbie argument, which was, why is the moon upside down for someone in Australia? And Jeremy was like, what the hell are you talking about? Why? You've been in this topic that long that you must surely know the answer to this. And then she started saying something like, yeah, but we only ever see the same face of the moon. Well, libration shows that we don't. And libration is a word that they use to describe what they call the elliptical orbit of the moon around the Earth, and how we see slightly different more of it on one side of the year to the other side of the year where we see slightly less of it. But for me, libration is the reason why when you're looking up above us on a flat plane and it's showing you a little bit more of one angle and a little bit less of another angle, libration is not libration. It's actually the proof that we're seeing the other side of the moon. Not all right, we're not seeing all of it. But how much would you expect to see if it was like, I don't know, just say for argument's sake, 3959 miles high? Not saying that, I'm just plucking that number randomly out of the Earth. But if it was 3959 and it was a solid object, you would expect to see libration. Hey, what do you know? We do see libration. Indicates that we are seeing some more of the moon because
No, it doesn't.
of the.
It indicates that you can use and affirm in the consequent formal logical fallacy, Anthony. Well done.
Sure, I completely accept that. But libration, what the point I was trying to get to was libration, the way they describe it, is also, we can interpret that equally as, well, that's the way we see it on a flat plane. And libration shows that we're not all seeing the same side of the moon.
And that would demonstrate that you love putting yourselves in these false dichotomies.
Just demonstrating how it applies, because you can twist it the other way around and make the exact same point. And if it's good enough for them, well, it must equally be good enough for me, Nathan.
Well, to do what? To achieve what?
Beg the question.
To beg the question that Earth is being proven flat with the exact same affirming the consequent standard that they use, therefore false dichotomy, Anthony.
Yeah, but see, when we point it out against them, they ignore it. But if you point it out against me because I'm applying it but twisting it, well, that's their standard that I'm applying, and they just accept it. But you're quite right to point that out. I am twisting it, but that's what they do.
Well, at least you've accepted it. A lot of people who come before us here and attempt to do the same thing, which is use their standards with their positive claim in respect to the moon. It's not up to you to let them lay it on the table and debunk it if they do. You've got nothing in this. You've got no horse in this race.
Exactly, but I do recognise it. I'm just applying it to make the point. And because I'm applying it, we can then say, well, libration proves that we do see other sides of the moon. We don't only ever see the one side, and it's proof that the Earth must be flat. That's what they do.
That's just an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy.
I know.
Well, then that's garbage. You want to use that standard? Get out.
No. I'm just hoping that other people recognise that's what they do, and I'm showing them how we could do the same thing.
We could, but when our opponents, as they've become when they call us scammers, do exactly that with the same standard and take it one step further and affirm the consequent with science in their affirming the consequent, that gets our hackles up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, when you do it, the same thing's going to happen, regardless of you being a close friend. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, but I'm not arguing it with sincerity. I'm making the point that I can just twist what they say the opposite way and say, well, we do see the other side of the moon. Libration proves it. And you couldn't prove or disprove that. But if I applied their standard, that makes it true because, it seems to support my argument.
I understand what you're doing. Okay, and that is where we step in and point out that that's what they would hope for, because then in that situation where you've got something to argue about, I'm not suggesting that you would all do, but that's the scenario that could be in place in this setting, right? And you're correct, and it is, and we critique it. But when that happens, that's ideal for them because it leaves them with a draw if you win your side of the false dichotomy. Well, that's still a win for them.
Correct. And I found it astonishingly hypocritical when Brenda was basically arguing for this moon argument, right? On the one hand, she's arguing for the oil platforms and the amount of refraction and how it's all distorted and all sorts of mischiefs going on at the horizon, right? Totally the atmospheric refraction effect, right? But when it comes to the moon, she assumes that there's no atmosphere whatsoever because she assumes that when the moon's doing something in the sky or whatever, she assumes that there's we're looking literally at the moon and we're not looking at any kind of exploding, like zoom or atmospheric zooming or what. There's no. She negates all effects of the medium that we're looking through, and she thinks that we're looking at it as in its purest of forms, as if we are in a vacuum. But it's directly opposing the argument that she applies when she's talking about Black Swan, where she jumps all over the refraction, and it's refraction, 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 but when it comes to the moon, never mentions a word about the medium.
Yeah, the double speak is obviously being highlighted, but the refraction rebuttal isn't a rebuttal, it's a debunking. The moment you say the horizon's refracted, it's not geometric anymore. End of their geometric assertion that it is Earth curve.
I agree, but remember, Brenda's using refraction as the rebuttal, not as the debunk that it actually is. She's trying to say that the cranes are all distorted, therefore refraction, and therefore we're flattening out the curve. So she's using that refraction argument as a rebuttal, even though we acknowledge that that's the debunking of the geometric horizon point.
No, she can't. Once she does that, it's over.
He can't.
We know that. Understand the argument, but Bev doesn't understand the argument because he thinks that talk about the hill and all that. Oh, bad. But yeah, the minute they say refraction, it debunks the notion that the leading edge of the sphere is what boats are dropping over, as per Galileo when he made the claim, and all that calculations and all that nonsense. It's all out the window if it's all perceived by subject to atmosphere and distortion. Because what are you looking at? Is it in the right place? Is it the right size?
Just stop for a second. Sorry, that's where Brian would step in if he was here. Well, no, because they've still got a straight line in their geometry, because it's necessitated, as I explained earlier. You can't just bend horizontal your way out of it. But that, in terms of their geometry change with 7/6R, only inflates the sphere, unbending it from your perspective in terms of their juxtaposition when they describe what that maths relates to in the picture you see. But it isn't actually bending the light. Nothing's being bent. The Earth in their maths is being inflated with 7/6 of the radius.
That's right. And the geometric horizon gets further and further back because of it as a result. They completely ignore that it's refracted. Well, they call it refracted at that point, don't they? It's the refracted horizon because it's getting further and further away.
Right.
But like you say, that would make the Earth like 1,000,000 times bigger.
Well, no, that would mean we have two horizons.
Well, they do say that though, don't they? Because
Yeah,
that's
they
what
do.
Rumpus would say. Well,
Yeah.
Rumpus would say, well, you can never see the geometric.
Right. But that's how I respond. We only have one horizon, and the horizon in their begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is geometric and was claimed by Rumpus to be blocking the bottom of the Isle of Man. Enter Rumpus to lie about that fact 3 times and get banned forever.
I have nothing. I can't. I have no rebuttal to that.
Yeah, he could only lie. And deny that
But you have to lie to bluff.
And deny that he claimed there was a hill block in the Isle of Man, which he explicitly stated.
This is why you have to lie to be a ball earther. You have to lie.
Yep. And someone pointed it out when I detailed this when the last baller did the exact same thing. I think it was a Kumu virus or someone similar. I think it might not have been someone else after a Kumu did the same thing. They get to the point where they have no option but to lie or become a flat earther. I mean, there is another option. But obviously they're not going to do that, so they're left with no option. They only lie. They can only do that. That's what they've got. So they end up getting banned.
And that's why they won't join. Not because Nathan's got his mute button, but because if they get narrowed into that corner, they get kettled into that corner where they're going to get battered because they know they're going to lose. That they can't put themselves in that position, but they need an excuse to not go in there. So what's the best excuse that they can find? Oh, Nathan and his mute button. Problem is, they all acknowledge that rumpusing is a thing because they do it too. Well, if we go into them, you get put on mute, they speak over you, they continually have their gain so high that they interrupt you at every opportunity. So that's essentially the mute button. They do the exact same thing. Why is it? Because they can't have you winning. They don't want you to win, so they demonize you instead. That's their tactic.
Yeah, I don't care. In that regard, who cares? The door's open if they want to come in. Right, we do actually have a video to cover today. Somebody provided this. Somebody did say, but it's now gone past on the... I'm sorry to I'd thank you if I could remember it was 20 minutes ago, so my bad. But somebody did actually suggest this in the Master B chat. So this is by Pegasus. Okay, fair enough. So there's going to be a link going by in the live stream chat as we speak. And if you could, let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me and leave a positive comment, something nice, something that won't get immediately removed, just to let him know that we responded to his video, in the vain hope that he would do the same in return and put a link to at Nathan Oakley 1980's videos so that we get the algorithmic love we are deprived of by YouTube. So that is the selfish motivation for asking you to go and let him know that we sent you, with a little comment that says, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Go on, whoever's determined to screw up my link.
On that point, Bev Try Thinking is now getting his own viewers, like however many was watching, to come over to Nathan Oakley's channel and say something generally quite positive so it doesn't get deleted. He's literally taking your words. So Nathan, just so that you're aware, Bev Try Thinking sent me.
You're saying Bev's telling people to go to other videos saying Bev sent me? Good for him. I nicked it off Russian vids.
He's nicked it off you, yeah?
But I nicked it off Russian vids.
That's okay, but he's nicked it off you.
Yeah, we've reappropriated it. Yeah, I mean, good stuff's good stuff. Anyway,
but just so you know, Nathan, I came because of Bev.
Bev sent you, eh? How ironic. Well, that's how it should work. Good. Yeah, I mean, if we were covering Bev's video, which I'm sure we did, we would have said the same thing. Let Bev know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And if you get there and you're watching a video that you wouldn't have already watched, in this case, Bev, just for example, because we're talking about him, he's obviously received the comment, he's obviously received the view, he's obviously potentially got the ability there and then to capture that person's interest and get a new subscriber. Same with every single videographer that we ever send anybody to ever. That is another potential person to subscribe to you. Now, I don't directly tell people to do that, because if that's up to them, right? If they like the content, if they get to Bev's and go, actually, this guy, man, wow, knows his geometry, and you'd be right most of the time. Well, if you then click the subscribe button, that's a benefit to Bev. Likewise, if Bev is sending people to me, and they get here and go, well, while he's been demonized by our guru Bev, actually, this guy's speaking a lot of sense. This Anthony Riley really knows his stuff.
Have officially made their comeback on Twitter.com. Recently, a tweet went viral where this guy apparently proves that the Earth is flat. He actually claims that there is zero evidence that the Earth is round, and he's attached like a bunch of videos and a bunch of evidence to corroborate his theory. Now, I know that this is Twitter.com and it's not meant to be taken seriously, but the amount of people that actually believe this makes me want to actually think that the Earth is flat.
Well, based on consensus of how many people believe it. I mean, that's very telling straight away off the cuff from this dude. He's got a lot of subscribers, it's got to be said. But so you're saying you may change your mind solely based on the consensus? I mean, that's sad. That really is very, very sad. So if lots and lots of people got together and told you that dinosaurs still existed, / existed at all, depending on who you are, you'd be like, oh, right, okay. So I'm going to start looking in caves for these dinosaurs that do exist. So many people say they do. Yeah, did you never have this example when you were in primary school? So if Billy said you should jump off a cliff, or if Billy jumped off the cliff, would you follow him? Did nobody ever say that to you? Clearly not.
This guy reminds me of he's that guy from Australia with the nail varnish and the long hair. Planner Walk. He reminds me of Planner Walk. He's one of these fresh out the gates or fresh out the traps kids that's come to the topic. Thinks he knows everything. How long is it going to be before he survives or crashes and burns? Not going to be long, is it? Let's be honest. But go on.
Just so I can walk off the edge. Buckle up and grab.
He literally gave that example immediately after. Epic. Absolutely epic. So I can now walk off the cliff of consensus. Well done.
Grab some popcorn. This is a very long tweet. The release of the P900 camera with infinite zoom is why there are so many flat earthers now, by the way. I've done.
Really? Would you ascribe... This is Owen Benjamin's tweet, by the way. If you're unfamiliar with Owen Benjamin, tough luck. Would you ascribe the number of flat earthers to Anthony? You have owned a P1 and P900 and a P1000. Would you ascribe the popularity of flat earth to that camera?
I would. I'd say that it did play a significant role. Yeah.
For you.
Well, definitely. Well, yeah, because we can bring some buildings back from the horizon that your eyes can't resolve, and we can see that there's no Earth curve there. So it did play a big role.
Perfect. So we've got one side of that coin that Owen Benjamin's detailed. Who else is on the panel? D-Rose, you there?
Yeah, I was going to say that guy sounds like...
I haven't asked you a question yet.
Oh.
Have you got a P900, first of all?
No.
No. Would you say the P900 was directly influential to your flat Earth journey?
Negative.
Do you hear that, Anthony?
Yeah, but if you've not had one, then you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. But when
Let
you
me
get
put
one
it
and you
this
start
way,
playing with
Anthony.
it, and you
Let me put it
realise
this
that
way.
that little tiny boat
Anthony,
is so much bigger. What?
as an owner of a Meridian preamplifier, I would say that the Meridian preamplifier is absolutely fundamental to people's hi-fi enjoyment. I mean, there's without the Meridian preamplifier, people just wouldn't be enjoying hi-fi. I mean, I say that as an owner of one.
To be fair though, that's not really a direct equivalence, is it? Because like there are all those preamps are all very similar, and they're at the point of saturation where they can't get much better, so they're all pretty much as good as each other. But the P900 is not comparable to all the other cameras because of its mega zoom. There's only one or two cameras that come close.
So when I was watching Wakey Wakey do the exact same thing with the Sony, that's not comparable.
I said there was only one or two cameras that come close. And he didn't really get close to it, did he, with his Sony?
Anthony's not going to have this, is he? I can tell already.
You can actually go to certain harbors and put a quarter to 50 cents to $1, and they have these little things that look like refracting opticals, and they do the same purpose. Maybe not as far as the P900 and the 1000, but you could definitely see the apparent horizon stretch out further.
Okay, right. Look, we're really majoring on the minors from Owen Benjamin. We'll continue.
Done it myself. There is no curve. Snipers don't factor in the spin. Neither do pilots. Lighthouses wouldn't work at 8 inch per mile square, and NASA has lied about all of it. There is.
And this is a full-on 2017 presentation of Flat Earth from Owen Benjamin. I mean, I don't know how old this tweet is, but if this was sent in 2017, I would be whooping and hollering. But now that it's not 2017, there's so much wrong with this. I'm so sorry if you're listening to this, Owen. But, I mean, come on.
There is zero evidence that we are on a ball, zero evidence of spin. I don't know what the Earth is, but someone has some explaining to do. And no,
flat. That's how it's measured.
Everyone isn't in on it. Without this tech, it does look like boats are going over a curve. They aren't. We aren't just dumb, crazy people. We actually know the heliocentric model.
So why it's dropped in just while he's on it. So we would be asserting the black swan in terms of the physical geometric limitations of the sphere Earth in its positive assertion, as opposed to the technology that might or might not bring back a boat that might or might not be at the distance that a geometric horizon would be at. You need some concrete evidence in terms of disproving the geometry and the measurements they claim. That's what the black swan does.
More than 99% of the people calling us dumb. It is what it is, and social shame doesn't work on me. So before I go into this, keep in mind I'm not a military A-grade long-distance sniper, but I think the reason that some snipers don't take into account this effect is because...
What effect would that be? Sorry, he hasn't detailed the effect. Neither did Owen Benjamin. But if you're going to critique it, we better know what effect you're critiquing. Now, so the audience is aware, we will be, if he is a globe believer and adheres to the positive assertions of a globe Earth, detailing the Coriolis effect. If you are unaware what this effect entails, it is the effect of a non-inertial turning reference frame turning beneath an inertial reference frame to offer up the apparent effect of a deviation, claimed to be at the rate of 15 degrees an hour if you are a ball Earth positive claimant.
Because the sniper bullet doesn't actually travel that far, and it's pretty insignificant, like the deviations. So you don't...
So your argument against the globe Earth claim of 15 degrees an hour deviation, that would be 1,000 miles an hour rim velocity of Earth turning beneath the bullet. You're saying that's inconsequential. You just don't understand what Coriolis effect is, or how it be induced, or what the effect would be based on the rim velocity of 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. You would absolutely notice
don't actually need
we don't. There is no deviation. Earth isn't turning underneath anything
to account for it to hit on target. Now, some people in the replies are claiming that they're actual snipers and saying that they do actually take it into account.
If you're an actual sniper, claiming in the comments that you do take into account Earth turning underneath gunfire, then you're claiming that Earth turns underneath your bullet for you to have to account for it. Now, if Earth turns underneath a bullet, as is being claimed by your commenters, then Earth turns underneath aeroplanes at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and you'd absolutely notice. For example, if you had a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles, then the flight, which currently takes 4.5 hours, would only take an hour and a half, because Earth would be turning underneath the plane, the same way your commenters say Earth turns underneath the bullet. We all clear? Who wants to add something? Go ahead.
They're saying, like, he's saying they don't have to count for it, the snipers, because it's a short distance, but I think Neil Smoke deGrasse Tyson has a different idea of that when he explains how the football went into a net due to Earth turning underneath it.
And if Earth's turning underneath Neil deGrasse Tyson's football and Earth's turning underneath the sniper's bullet, then Earth is turning underneath aeroplanes, and it would shorten flight times. That doesn't happen.
I think their rebuttal to that is they say that it only applies on east and west trajectories. So if it's east or west plus or minus 1 degree, then it's not Coriolis because it has to be east to west, and that's not east to west. They ignore it for the rest of it.
Sorry, that's not Coriolis effect.
Yeah, but that's their rebuttal when you say that.
Well, then they don't understand what Coriolis effect is. Coriolis is an effect that you can only observe as you, the observer, turn underneath things.
I know. I'm just telling you their rebuttal. If it's not due east and due west, they're not interested.
Yeah, the direction, I'll say it one more time. The direction of the item being observed is irrelevant. The effect is induced because you turn underneath the object. Ergo, if this effect is being demonstrated by a drone, then you place a drone on a roundabout and sit with it, with the remote control, you and the drone all on the roundabout. Now, when you spin the roundabout with the drone on it and you on it and the remote on it, they all spin in unison with the roundabout. When you launch the drone and make it hover, you turn underneath the drone. But it appears to come towards you and go away, come towards you, go away, come towards you, go away. That's Coriolis effect. The not actual deflection of the drone because you turn underneath it. If this is applicable to Earth, then to have Coriolis effect, we must turn underneath bullets that are in the inertial reference frame, footballs that are in the inertial reference frame, aeroplanes that are in the inertial reference frame. Because to have the effect, we must observe them turning underneath in the non-inertial turning reference frame required to describe Coriolis effect. So therefore, finally, get to my point, detailing the trajectory of the plane or the accounting for any deviation is to demonstrate that you don't understand how this effect works, because the effect is only capable of observation as you turn underneath things. We continue? Any more for any more?
Because these are Twitter snipers and they could literally be Timmy playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, they are.
Luckily, we have a fairly sized audience, so I'm sure some of you are pilots, some of you are snipers, some of you are lighthouse workers, so you can tell me how any of these work. Now, the video
I can tell you exactly, I just did. If Earth's turning underneath sniper fire, then Earth's turning underneath balls, drones, footballs, hot air balloons, it's turning underneath everything. If it's not, then there isn't any Coriolis effect proving Earth turning. Therefore, Earth's not being proven to be turning. It's not turning. We haven't got any Coriolis deviation. We can debunk it. When we do, we're told that they don't drift. Why would we expect to see drift? Well, because you claim there's 15 degrees an hour of it turning underneath sniper fire. But that would shorten flight times.
video he's actually attached here supposedly supports a flat Earth. Basically, it's someone standing at the shore and using a super zoom camera to...
Yeah, I'd agree with you. If you're going to say this proves Jack, then you're right. Because you'd need some demarcation for the limitations of your view claimed by a globe Earth and the hill that's supposed to be Earth curve getting in the way at the horizon. If you've got a hill getting in the way at the horizon, then the distance to that hill can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, because that's where your maths for a globe Earth place the limitation of the hill getting in the way of things. The distance to the horizon in the black swan, denoted by the two oil rigs at set distances that we know, puts the horizon at about 10 miles or beyond, because that's the furthest distance to the oil rig, and the horizon is beyond those oil rigs. Now, the distance to the horizon in your Earth curve math says it's at 1.2 miles, not 10. Therefore, it's not a hill, because hills don't pick themselves up and put themselves behind things they're supposed to be in the way of. That's not how hills work. Now, we can demonstrate a debunking of the claim that the horizon is a hill called Earth curve, blocking boats and buildings. It isn't. We debunked it in 2020. As for super zoom cameras, unless you've got some physical demarcation, got there in the end, for the items in the view of the super zoom camera, then it's meaningless dross from 2017 flat earthers that didn't know what they were looking at and didn't know how to prove or debunk anything.
To see one of the ships that have sailed.
How far's the ship? Oh, we don't know. Yeah, because some tosser flat earthers pointed a camera at something and said, oh, therefore not a sphere. Yeah, useless.
Basically, he's claiming that I can see the ship through the super zoom, meaning it's a straight line, meaning the Earth is flat.
Yeah, we've already conceded. Garbage from flat earthers, amateurs. Yeah.
Boy, have we come a long way.
All we're doing now is seeing boats disappear as you zoom out. Yeah, hashtag shit shrinks. As we're doing this, just as a little Brucey bonus for anybody watching who's interested in how Earth is definitely not a sphere and is demonstrably flat, when you zoom out on a camera, the mathematics for a sphere has no accounting for this angular relationship that is induced by zooming out in a camera. That is a perspective relationship. Now, in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve mathematics, the view, and the maths that denotes the view, is in orthographic. That means side on, looking at the side of your own head, fondly termed in the lexicon of flat Earth debate, Muppet vision. Because you see in the side of your own head, you don't see the side of your own head, but what that actually achieves in the maths is that the item being described, in this case a boat, is described with a meter or feet value that does not change with distance. So this boat in the maths for Earth curve is 30 feet. Now, as we zoom out, in the globe Earth maths, this boat, now smaller, is still 30 feet. Now, given that if I claimed that the bottom of it, and I'm not going to go through the necessity to detail why this happens, because I've got no claim in this regard as a flat earther, but they're saying it's Earth curve, and now we have a point where we just see the sail. Therefore, Earth curve's got in the way, with your angular limitation that precludes descriptions of things getting smaller. Because in your maths, this is still a 30-foot boat. Now, when we zoom out completely, and it vanishes entirely, it's still a 30-foot boat. Well, it's disappeared entirely. Surely we need a better way of describing how this boat represents itself visually. Yeah, its angular relationship, perspective, excluded and indeed hijacked by Earth curve mathematics. We don't see the side of our own head, and things change their angular relationships as they disappear into the distance. They don't remain the same in feet and inches, because that's an arbitrary value we ascribe if we run a tape measure up it, which you're not doing when you're looking at things with optics. As a bonus, shout out to Lumpy Gas and a Vacuum, then whoever was trying to get a word in can. Nathan, if I were rich, I'd give you more. Oh, thank you. Let's give a little heart to that. Thank you very much, Lumpy Gas and a Vacuum, for your support. I really appreciate it. Go on, someone from Discord was trying to get a word in throughout that whole little rant from me. 108 people watching, please share the show. No? Just someone on hot mic, right? Fair
Come
enough.
on, Discord, pay attention.
Now, the problem obviously is we literally have no idea where these videos come from. Are they fabricated? Are they real? We have no idea. But what we definitively know is that the Earth is absolutely round. We literally have no idea where these videos...
That's it. So your standard is, I know it's round.
Well, isn't it interesting that he questions whether or not the videos are sincere and genuine or not? Yeah, when it comes to things like NASA's moon video and all the NASA paraphernalia, does he question that as well, or does he just accept it because it's NASA?
He would just say something like, well, when it comes to their pointing out foibles and plot holes and continuity errors in NASA stuff, they're right. We don't know if it's fake or not, but we know Earth is round. That would be his argument. It's a baseless assertion, in case you hadn't picked up on the type of fallacy he's employing. No, we don't know if these pictures of unicorns are real. They could all be made up, but we know that unicorns are real. That's his argument.
I don't think that he would say that. I think he would just auto accept that NASA's credible, reliable, and not going to possibly lie to us for any possible reason, like $55 million a day kind of reason. I think he'd just accept it. It's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Now, the problem obviously is we literally have no idea where these videos come from. Are they fabricated? Are they real? We have no idea. But what we definitively know is that the Earth is absolutely round. There has been a scientific consensus, and it explains a million things.
So if it's consensus, it's not science. Again, demonstrating admirably that he doesn't know what science is, and as we detailed earlier with him walking off a cliff, he's only interested in what consensus says. Lots of people agree, therefore we know. No, we don't live in a consensus-based reality. We live in a physical reality. That's dealt with by physics, not consensus.
Things absolutely perfectly. Now, Twitter's actually added this new feature, which is so incredibly useful, where basically readers add
Basically, readers who are so mentally retarded are incapable of even going to Google and typing stuff in, are offered with the automatic rhetoric-based Google response that we want you to find anyway, presented underneath the video. It's so useful. I literally need no brain power at all to just absorb the information already presented. It's genius. Yeah, we've got one underneath this video. Check it out. Wikipedia telling you how the flat Earth is an archaic, scientifically disproven. So Wiki don't even understand that to use science would be to validate cause and effect relationships. But yet flat Earth, that would be a concrete noun that couldn't be put through the scientific method, is being described underneath incorrectly as something that's being disproven with science. Yeah, that's just garbage that anybody with a modicum of intelligence would understand, but you're more than willing, as a consensus-based individual, totally subservient to whatever you read in front of you under a video. You're just going to praise that. Oh, how convenient.
Context on tweets that may be...
Go on.
I was going to say, I do appreciate, however, that in that caption underneath the video that it says that all ancient cultures subscribe to a flat Earth cosmology, which is against the typical rhetoric that we all knew the Earth was a globe for forever.
Yeah, I suppose you can squeeze some positivity out of the tramp stamp, as Anthony dubbed it.
Misinformation or theories or bullshit, you know? The Earth is round.
So you wouldn't question whether or not that chunk of information was misinformation, because it's telling you about misinformation. So it itself couldn't possibly be misinformation. I mean, the people who put this stuff together are probably having a damn good chuckle about how it works, because they know how stupid people are. Yeah, let's put misinformation in there. Yeah? Because dumbos like this just gobble it up whole.
Other Nixon super zoom cameras have been used to demonstrate...
And you know what he gets in return for being a complete dumbo with absolutely zero critical thinking skills? He will be offered 1.5 million subscribers because of his inane garbage. Let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. hopefully worry to respond and say, how unreasonable, we do live in a consensus-based reality, I'm not a complete Kirk. Then hopefully he'd put a link to my video. So let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, with a positive comment that won't get removed immediately, not with my sentiment that I just projected out.
This fact by observing the curve occluding objects and by imaging satellites on orbit, which is only possible with a
orbit? What, you mean the derivation taken from the celestial sphere off a flat plane? You're gonna need a flat plane for that orbit.
round Earth. Now, one of the easiest ways to actually disprove the flat Earth theory.
Right, disprove flat Earth theory. Oh, well, that would be you swallowing whole the propaganda tramp stamp that you thought was so convenient, because theory comes after experiment, after the elucidation of cause and effect, which flat Earth is not. Now, the straw man idea that we've postulated a theory is, number one, a straw man, number two, absurd, because science doesn't do anything beyond elucidate the cause of an effect if employed correctly. There is no flat Earth theory. We're certainly not postulating one. You've gobbled it up at the feast of nonsense, because that universally accepted and tasty to everybody dish has been gobbled up by you, just like it would be by flat earthers.
Theory is to talk about the edge. Now,
oh, is it really? What edge? You're now claiming this edge by stereotype straw man. Because no, the moment I say no, I don't claim that, this becomes your claim. So what edge?
believe it or not, this guy actually goes on a million rants all throughout Twitter, responding to pretty much every single comment in existence, trying to defend his flat Earth theory.
So that wouldn't be a gross exaggeration. I mean, it's not like you're a teenage tosser that's going to grossly exaggerate about Owen Benjamin's ability to respond to every Twitter response in existence. You think that's even possible? No, it's just a tosser with a gross exaggeration. Gobbled up by millions, obviously.
Eventually, somebody points out, why can't we see the edge? And
sorry, somebody eventually points out that we can't see an edge. Where did you show Owen Benjamin claiming an edge?
then he responds saying that the edge is perpetually...
Oh, I see. Owen Benjamin responded to somebody straw-manning him with an edge, because you didn't show where Owen Benjamin claimed an edge.
guarded by these, I don't know, masked cops or something. Who are...
I see. So Owen Benjamin gobbled up the straw man false dichotomy offered up in the comment section. Poor show, Owen Benjamin. We wouldn't have done that.
pretty much all stationed at Antarctica to prevent...
Really? Says who? Oh, right. It says Eric DeBay. Yeah? As evidenced by what?
you from getting to the edge to see that the Earth is flat. At a certain
What edge? How does an edge prove anything?
point, you just cross the threshold into complete insanity.
Get a 15-minute Nareva audio
doing this. Why would this actually be a thing? Why is the entire universe in a conspiracy against you specifically? Why?
No, don't internalize it. It's not you, the center of the universe, or Owen Benjamin, the center of the universe. It is simply measurements of the world that we endure. That's it. How we measure and how we navigate and how we observe the world is flat. Those are facts that if you are a heliocentrist globe believer, you also require. They're the very foundation of your globe belief. That'd be a flat earth to be measured in order to extrapolate out your globe faith. Shocking, isn't it? That sound like something Owen Benjamin would say. No, it isn't. It's what we say.
Why does this all relate to you? What did they actually gain from all of this?
Who's they?
And how do you refute decades and decades of undeniable proof? Here
Like what? Here's the proof, right? Okay, let's see if this is proof he offers now.
are 7 ways to prove the Earth is round.
Oh, here we go. This is ace. What ships sail off into the geometric physical limitation of a hill block in their view? No, if the Earth was a sphere radius 3959 miles, as is asserted in the geometric Earth curve calculations, then every distance that hill block in these boats, in your first example, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. The distance to the horizon in the Black Swan is demarcated by 2 oil rigs, putting the horizon, your Earth curve edge block in these boats, beyond the physical geometric limitations of a hill, called Earth curve, blocking boats in this example. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve. It's not a hill blocking boats. Just let chocolate in. Oops.
Number 1, watch a ship sail off to a sea. The boat will appear like it's going over a hill, which is like a sphere-shaped planet. Number
Or did somebody say that they object to me using the word hill? Yeah, you think it's a hill, Dumbos? That's it, just say that again. Epic.
undeniable proof. Here are 7 ways to prove the Earth is round. Number 1, watch a ship sail off to a sea. The boat will appear like it's going over a hill, which is like a sphere-shaped planet. Number 2,
we all clear?
Sphere-shaped planet? Wow.
Yeah, so if the Earth was a hill, getting in the way of boats and buildings, the hill would have physical limitations, because hills tend to be that way when they block things. Yeah, we debunked it. Black Swan.
2, watching a lunar eclipse.
Sorry, a lunar eclipse. Cut to one of the slides I use with a flat plane orbiting. So we've got orbital motion that's derived from a flat plane measurement to put a flat disk into orbit. Well, ironically, that would be more appropriate because the measurements that you derive your orbital claim from were from a flat plane. But because we don't have a, flat plane shadow, maybe you should look into how the moon creates shadows that you can tell the time with, because that would absolutely annihilate your heliocentric distances and assertions of eclipses based on heliocentric motion. Yeah, we can annihilate this garbage too. Eclipses prove nothing beyond your orbital motion assumption that is derived from flat Earth measurements.
You're not going to see a shadow of
Yeah, that's a straw man. Nobody claims you would.
like a flat object. You're
Nobody claims you would.
going to see a spherical shadow.
Sorry, does that look like a shadow to you? I can see all of the moon, all of the craters in the shadow. Number 1, shadows don't change colour. What's going on with the colour change? I've seen it with my own eyes. It wasn't obscured by a shadow, it changed colour.
Number 3, climb a tree.
What, so you can see the geometric limitation called Earth curve? I'm pretty sure this is the same as 1. Am I wrong?
You can see a further distance. If
Oh, what, like you can see beyond the geometric limitation of an Earth sphere edge hill getting in the way at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet up a tree? Yes, it's the same as number 1, Dumbo.
the Earth was flat, you wouldn't.
Go on.
Hold on. This is the first thing that I found when I started looking into flat Earth. This thing right here, to climb up a tree.
Yeah, because the claim of Earth curve is dictated by the observer's height in feet. That's why it's included in the Black Swan. It's their claim of a hill getting in the way. Climb a tree, you can see further beyond the physical hill. That's the same as their first claim, with boats going over the hill at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, obscured by its hill-like nature that they like to deny when we debunk it with the Black Swan. Go ahead.
Proves your kitchen table's curved, doesn't it? If you put your eye down, yeah, and then raise your eye, you can see further across the table. And because you know you've raised your eye, there's proof that the table's curved, because he's just started.
Oh, you saved me. I've really thought Adam was going to launch into claims he didn't need to be making, but he didn't. He turned it around right at the last minute, so he didn't get shouted at.
That's the fundamental of their claim, isn't it? That's actually what is being presented to us. We know it's a ball because if you go up in height, you can see a bit further.
Like you would on a
table. Had the opposite effect on me.
Yeah. Right. So they've used what is exactly detailed by refracted curvature by explaining precisely how the Earth curve maths actually works. What it is, Earth curve mathematics, is a differential calculation between eye level and surface level. What Adam's just described in physical reality is how you take you on a flat table, because that's how the geometry of Earth is measured and navigated, and as you raise off the metaphorical flat plane measured and navigated that is Earth, then you will see further along the table. They then say that the fact that you can see further along the table is because you're seeing further over a hill. Excellent, Adam. That was brilliantly done.
Okay. Can I finish what I was saying?
What, in the middle of Adam's talking? Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Well, when he stopped a few times, I thought he was done. I'm sorry, Adam. Anyway, it had the opposite effect on me because I was trying to prove a sphere. to refute my brother who told me about flat Earth. And when I came across this, I was like, are you kidding me? This is what they're giving me? Climb up a tree?
What are you talking about? It worked on this Dumbo. He's citing it to 1 million plus people. So while you're obviously of the intellectual discernment to realise that that's total garbage, to this guy, he's like, I'm going to put this on a video to millions of people. That's his attitude. So what do you want?
So did you?
Go ahead. Hold on.
Sorry. So the claim was, if you climb a tree, you see more. That was the claim for a globe.
Yeah, as in 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet.
Right. So did you see the definition right under that though? Did you see what it said?
I didn't, but I will rewind.
It said
since you
climb a
pointed
tree.
it out.
Ways to prove the Earth is round. Number 1, watch a ship sail off to a sea. The boat will appear like it's going over a hill, which
You'll have to bear with it while I just let it scroll through this bit. So he's got the eclipse, and then the next one up is number 3, but it'll only be on screen for a second, so I'll have to try and catch it.
Just on the eclipse one and the quality of this argument, I've seen that eclipse picture. You know, the one with the flat shadow. That's a meme. That's somebody making a joke, and he's actually bringing that to the table as supporting evidence that we don't see shadows like this. Therefore, having pre-assumed that that's the shadow of the Earth, therefore we can assume the Earth is round. Even if you were giving us a pizza pie, just turn your pizza pie the other way round. You don't have to have your shadow from the side on view. But if that's the quality of his argument, that he's just going to hijack a meme because he believes that's making a valid point. That's the kind of...
No, and you were great until... Who is it that I'm going to give props to from Discord? Who is it who said that?
Elbow.
Okay. Who? Robo?
It was the book Elbow TV.
Elbow, okay. Perfect. What it says on number 3, Adam, this is what it actually says underneath. Number 3, climb a tree. Imagine a vast plain, but with one tree in the... And then it cuts off.
Imagine the Earth is flat.
Yep.
For me to give you this example of how when you look at things, you can visualize a ball.
Yes.
Wow.
This is funny though, Nathan. We've actually been through this list on the show, remember? And absolutely ripped it apart.
I don't remember doing it, but I'm sure we did. But yeah.
Yeah, we did. Especially with the climate tree. As soon as I heard that, I was like, wait a minute. We've been through this little list before. We definitely have.
I brought it.
Years ago.
Quick shout out.
You might be right, Neil.
Quick shout out to Tony Whitcomb, who says, does his boat have wheels to climb over his hill? I don't fully follow, but thank you for the super chat, Tony. Are we carrying on with the video, or has someone else got anything to add?
3, climb a tree. You can see a further distance. If the Earth was flat, you wouldn't be able to see a further distance. Number...
Why? Sorry, why? So if you're looking over a flat table, you can't see further. What the hell does that mean? It doesn't even mean anything. It's nonsense. If Earth was flat, you wouldn't be able to see further distances. Why? That makes absolutely no sense.
But make
Maybe
sure you
you should
imagine
tell all the lifeguards that
I've just figured out why. Go ahead, Chocolate, and then I've just figured out why.
When they give the lifeguards those tall stools or that little stand that they have to be at, that's taller than everything else, so that they can see further, maybe he should tell them they're wrong for that.
That's an excellent point.
That's correct, but that's not why it's done this way in this particular piece. And I do remember why it's done this way from covering it. Okay. The reason it's paraphrased that way is because later, when referencing the Earth curve maths, it cannot reference perspective. So instead of highlighting that or allowing that to be highlighted, they flip the burden onto the flat earthers and ask you why you can't see New York from Ireland. And they assert that if Earth was flat, you would see New York from Ireland. Ergo, taking the burden of perspective hijacking maths and putting it on you to disprove a negative. Why don't we see New York's skyline from Ireland? Because Earth isn't flat, you dumbo. Now let's talk about my maths that doesn't include perspective, given we've just debunked your stupid notions of it in flat Earth. That's how this trick actually works. Now, that leads them to the stupid notion that when you're asked if you're a flat earther, why don't you see New York from Ireland? Or whichever example they give you. You go, hashtag shit shrinks.
This argument is so silly. It's almost like they're trying to debunk perspective with perspective.
They've got to flip that burden somehow because it's being ignored in their calculations. How? Well, the boat in the calculations for Earth curve, where they say a hill's getting in the way, here's the maths for it, the boat never changes in size. Doesn't matter if it's 1,000,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away, or right in front of you, it's a 30-foot boat. Oh, hold on, what about if it's further away and got smaller? Still 30 foot. Well, doesn't that ignore the fact that it gets smaller as it gets further away? Yeah, but we're going to be calling that Earth curve.
Yeah, at that point, it's taking the perspective and describing it as geometry.
Precisely. Good summary.
Travel to different countries and experience different time zones. Number 5.
So how do time zones prove Earth is a sphere or disprove that Earth is flat? Okay, it doesn't. It's a non sequitur. Nevertheless, now we're on to watch a sunset. What? Watch a sunset behind the physical geometric limitation of an Earth curve hill getting in the way of the sun at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. You see, this seems very similar to number 1 and number 3. Is it just me, or do a lot of the claims of Earth curve come with a physical geometric sphere edge horizon we debunked in 2020, claiming to be blocking things like boats, or whatever you're looking at in the distance when you climb a tree, or the sun in this example? These are all the same claim. We debunked it in 2020. Black Swan.
I've watched a
Can I ask a question, Nathan?
Feel free.
When the sun is setting, can you still do an elevation angle to it?
You can.
There you go. Proof of a flat plane.
But elevation angle measurements require a flat plane.
Set. Number 6, measure shadows across the country.
Shadows across the country? You see, again, I think I just by chance, I don't normally drop it in, but it was mentioned a couple of days ago, talked about the shadows that the moon produces. We call that the bad moon shadow. Because in terms of heliocentric rhetoric and the distances to the sun giving you on a rotating Earth the time, you wouldn't be able to achieve the same thing with the moon, given its closer orbital value. But you do! Debunking all notions that the shadows from the sun only would infer that you've got a sphere Earth. Further to that, all of your light from a sphere Earth in a sphere Earth rhetoric that was originally derived from a flat plane are supposed to be coming in parallel, but yet at the same point must be converging on the point of light in the sky. That's paradoxical and it's right on its face.
Number 7, Google International Space Station photo.
What, the one in the sky vacuum? See, these two people on Highwire are part of a stage show called the ISS. Simultaneously, there is a light in the sky called the ISS. But while they dangle upside down, they are claiming to be upside down because they are falling around in a motion around a sphere when the motion was derived from a flat Earth elevation angle measurement in the first instance with respect to the celestial sphere on a flat plane. So you can't have a ball Earth with items falling around it in a derivation of maths that's measured from a flat Earth, because that makes no sense. But what we do know from those facts is that this is automatically fake and not taking place in a sky vacuum falling around a ball Earth, therefore automatically fake. The sky is not a vacuum. Orbital motions described by Kepler, invented by the church, at the behest of the church, to figure out when Easter should be, don't put stage shows in reality in a sky vacuum. If there was a sky vacuum called outer space, we'd all be dead, because the gas we're breathing, which is at high pressure, would expand in all directions and vacate into the area these guys are claimed to be falling around a ball Earth in, which isn't possible because the measurements that are used to claim that were taken from a flat plane.
Photos, but something tells me that one can.
Sorry, photos. What, of high pressure gas not expanding into this black area that's 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum. That's called a second law of thermodynamics violation, not a photograph.
I'm sorry, you'd have to be a complete idiot to still think that the Earth is flat. It's
What, after you've read a tramp stamp under a video? Yeah, you'd have to be a complete moron to take as read everything you read underneath Twitter videos and YouTube videos. That makes you moronic.
complete lunacy, and this
No, it's complete lunacy to have absolutely no critical thinking skills whatsoever. It offends me.
is coming from someone who literally
Is this a guy that should be pulling a lever? If John was here, he's not. Or is this a guy that should be disseminating the parroted garbage tramp stamp information he didn't research and was presented to him under a video to millions of people? Oh, it's the latter. Why? Well, because it comports with the narrative, being a brain-dead cuck zombie repeating exactly what you've read under a video about the subject you're supposed to be researching.
questions everything. I test the chemical composition of the water I drink. I'm literally
Do you? Why? Why? Sorry, does that make you a scientist? Maybe you'll claim it. Let's see.
the guy you go to when you have an absolutely crazy idea that nobody wants to believe.
Why would anybody go to you with any ideas about anything? I mean, all you'll do is parrot off verbatim the garbage you read when you type in the first sentence of what you're researching and agree with the autosuggest.
will maybe support you if it has some merit. And my official
Merit? Allow me. Earth is measured flat. Let's see how you cope with that. Were you to respond? Let this guy know. This is Pegasus. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And see, were he to actually view our video. What he actually says, when presented with something, quote, with merit. Earth is measured flat. In order to believe you're on a sphere, you start with measurements off a flat plane with respect to the celestial sphere over a flat plane. From there, you can start inferring that the ground, measured flat, actually diverges from flat because it's spherical. You can, but you'll need a flat Earth as a starting point. Let's see how you cope with that merit.
diagnosis, despite being crazy,
A diagnosis? What the hell?
is that no, the flat Earth theory has no ground to stand on.
Other than the flat plane measured to infer it's a sphere.
Then he shows another video of basically people talking to, like, I don't know, pilots or something.
What gave it away? Them sat in an aeroplane? I don't know. What are they, pilots or something? These guys with little badges on their shoulders, sat in an aircraft at the front of it. I mean, maybe they're pilots.
And the pilots are
Before
saying,
you
yeah,
press play, what is he going to do to their testimony? Is he going to accept it as an expert, somebody that does this thing every single day, keeping people alive? Or is he going to, or is he going to ridicule and decry the pilot's opinion? He's happy to take Google, but now we're going to have a pilot that is not in agreement with his mainstream view. So how does he now deal with this qualified opinion?
Pilots under in the comments section said that they do fly around a sphere.
the Earth is
Well,
flat.
Adam, you are talking about somebody who tests the chemical composition of his water before he drinks it.
You're right. This guy's basically a scientist, Adam. I mean, how could you possibly question him?
Fair enough.
Exactly.
We were up there?
No.
No? What did you see while we were up there?
Just the blue sky, white clouds.
Yeah, is it flat or?
Pretty flat.
Pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Because I was reading some stuff on the flat Earth that made a lot of sense. Have you looked into it?
Which one? Sorry?
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
That's true?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
All right.
God bless, brother.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No, there's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
Got a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I'm a fellow, Casey Josh. I'm a fellow, just PPL pilot here.
Yeah, nice.
I got a couple of serious questions to ask you.
Here we go.
Yeah, there's a big time. Curvature.
Curvature?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't allow for curvature, do we?
Yeah. Or anything, not really, do they?
No, we're round. We're a disc, aren't we? Round and flat.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, look, honestly, quite seriously,
Yeah.
we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Just because somebody said it doesn't mean it's true. What about the million people that I could pull up who say that the Earth is round? It's so obvious that these people just want to be special, okay?
Let me get it straight. Just because someone said it doesn't make it true. However, just because you read it underneath a video, whoa, are you not recognizing the contradictions in your own bloody video? So someone saying it not necessarily true when they're sat actually piloting the plane they're being asked about, and many lives would be endangered if they were wrong, but yet they're not right. But a faceless, nameless tramp stamp, definitely correct. Okay, gotcha. Excellent standards.
It feels like he's maybe projecting that he wants to feel special.
Guys,
Listen, I wonder-
the guy just told us. I'm sorry, Adam. Go ahead, man.
No, you're go on, Buff. After you.
I was just gonna say that the guy just told us we see curvature if we climb a tree, but he's got pilots here telling him from up there, which is usually about 35,000 feet, it's just flat. Okay, with your tree, buddy.
Okay. Climb a tree. Okay.
Maybe the tree was really tall.
35,000 feet. And it's not a tree.
How do you know? Maybe it used to be a tree and now it's a mountain.
Oh,
let's get into that quickly.
Okay, if they
and so we're
believe
doing-
something that nobody else believes, they think they will be special and they'll be the ones to make this amazing breakthrough that no.
Let me get it straight.
And so
they think that the flat earthers, by stereotype, according to you, that they're special because they're doing something special. Sorry, only moments earlier, you, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, told us about your testing of your water.
He's now twisted that. That's not. He's now twisting what he's presenting. So, even though it's not proof, he's bothered just to cite a pilot who's disagreed with his opinion, and you can't just believe what everybody says, and they might just be seeking attention. No, he's a pilot. The person, his attention was sought by the person making the video. Yeah, he's just been randomly questioned, and he's given that answer. And the way the guy's rationalized a qualified opinion is to put him into he's seeking attention. He's clearly not. The flat earther might be, but the random pilot that's just been asked ad hoc, he's not seeking anything, is he? But the way he's dealt with, the way he completely denied his worldview, this expert opinion, is to attack him personally. He's an attention seeker. Therefore, his opinion, as qualified as it is, isn't worth anything. Now it's attention seeking flat earthers.
Okay, I'm going to contrast this with you and Adam. You found yourself in the hotspot, so I don't normally do this, and you'll understand why I'm doing it now after the fact. Right, notwithstanding the fact that he's decrying doing certain things to feel special after detailing what he did with his water, how often, typically, would you mention what you do for a living on this show?
Very rarely. You lot tend to.
Well, we tend to, right. But you wouldn't just drop it in for no reason to make yourself, for example, feel special?
No.
I know it might be beyond your capabilities of understanding, but did you know what he was talking about when he said he was measuring water? I didn't quite follow. It was quite complicated.
It sounded like he had a mild psychosis. That he thought people might be poisoning him because he tests his water to make sure what's in it before drinking it. I don't know how he does that, why he does that. But maybe it's because he's special.
Maybe. I mean, that was quite an outstandingly broad assumption to make, even though you disclaimed that you don't know. I mean, what would lead you as a professional man to maybe, speculate in such a manner? I mean, what is it that you do for a living, just out of interest, Adam?
I sell drugs. I'm a pharmacist.
A pharmacist. I see. So where credence could be lent in such regards when it comes to pharmaceuticals, for instance, or things that are ingested for medicinal purposes, you'd be the man. Whereas some dick that's talking about consensus and how special he is when he tests his water, that would be just some dick that doesn't got any primary source research or any discernment, critical skills in thinking terms, that sort of stuff.
Seems like a false boast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody's been able to prove. And honestly, I encourage all types of discussion. You know, it's very important.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I just needed that little bit of encouragement from you.
Important for the scientific community to.
Like scientific community? No, that's a reification fallacy. Science is a method. There is no scientific community. There's a consensus. That would be men agreeing with each other. But if it's consensus, as I said earlier, it's not science. Because that's a method. It elucidates cause of an effect you observed in nature, if performed correctly. The community...
Can scientists form communities, though?
What the scientists? Sorry, you're saying the community of people who at some stage in their career varied and manipulated that which they thought would cause an effect they were studying. The community of those people. That means nothing.
They wouldn't have
scientific. Doesn't make scientific communities, though, does it? It makes a community of people that do science, but that community is not scientific, is it? Science is a method.
Yeah, a method this kid doesn't understand, or he wouldn't be using the word community in conjunction with the word scientific.
Always constantly question everything.
Just a sec, because D-Rose is going to burst if you don't get enough.
Go on, D.
Yeah, I was. I just wanted to say I may have missed the point. The point of reviewing this particular video is it because we're trying to. We don't have anything else to do. Nothing more challenging. Or we just going back into time to try to resurface back in the day
I see.
assertions by Globers.
You're looking for deeper meaning. There isn't one. I just didn't have a video and someone went, here, I'll cover this.
Oh, okay. I thought so. So I was like, what is this?
See, but it's the problem is, though, is that it's this kid. I mean, I call him a kid. He sounds like a kid. He sounds like he's 12 or something.
He's actually 47 years old.
Get out.
Is he?
Absolutely.
Anyway, he's the one bringing these old school arguments to the forefront today in 2023, right? He's the one in this video that just said, climb a tree, right? So it's not really like we're... Say again?
This is only 4 months old. This is not dealing in an old argument. This is old arguments being used as defense.
Yeah.
The thing is, as well, guys, this is when I brought it to the show a few months ago. My point was, if the ordinary Joe does do some research on how to find out how the Earth was measured and how we know it's a sphere, they're the 7 questions that you get now. They're the 7 examples you get. Climb a tree. This is what is on offer for the globe proof. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, that was what Neil was saying earlier. You get to this stuff and go, really? Is that what I've got to defend my faith in a globe? Surely there's something better than this. Well, yeah, all it's based on is the assertion that you've got a hill in the way at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Multiple examples of the same thing.
So nobody can pull the wool over our eyes, right? That being
Yeah, they can. Very much so. For you, with just a bit of text underneath the video. Surprisingly easy.
said, you are still completely cuckoo nut job crazy. Looking at some of the responses here, wait, what? You really think the Earth is flat?
No, we know it's measured flat and can demonstrate how that's the case.
It's obviously flat. What makes you think it's a spinning ball besides NASA?
It's the crap we have to deal with in comment sections. Baseless assertion after baseless assertion in response. So it's obviously flat. No, at least I would caveat with that obviously, observably, measurably, navigably flat. You know, that list has got longer. Go on.
And the model is based off a flat plane.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah, but he's not lying.
Listen.
It is obviously flat.
Yeah.
The guy's not lying.
No, it's not lying.
By every measure.
Yeah.
And I hate Hollywood as much as the next guy, but really, are you actually telling me it's all a Hollywood plot? What if
Yeah, I mean, you could. That's slightly lower down the ranks, though, as much as this might surprise some people, if I could say that word. Just have a drink. Yeah, the standard is lower in Hollywood. So, as Dilly Gill has described this many times, NASA are on the cutting edge of cinematography. Yeah, so while you can infer that, oh, what is it all just a big Hollywood charade? Well, yeah, Hollywood borrow equipment from NASA because NASA are the ones on the cutting edge of suspension of disbelief, cinematography. In this instance, fooling you into believing that a stage show called the ISS, which is what you've presented thus far, is actually taking place in the sky vacuum in violation of natural law. For that, you need to be on the cutting edge. You know, Hollywood are behind NASA. So you could describe it as all being a Hollywood show, but that would be to demean the superiority of NASA when they are on the cutting edge of cinematography, not Hollywood.
Gravity from large objects like planets.
Gravity? What? Large objects like planets? What? Lights in the sky aren't large objects with gravity. Gravity's a bent pseudo-Riemannian force space. The assertion that the lights in the sky are objects are only based on derivations of Kepler's orbital motion and Huygens' assumption that Venus has the same R value as Earth that we debunked in 2020.
Bend light. Oh wait, they do. Any evidence or just more wishes and hopes and dreams? So every planet in the entirety of space is round, but...
Is it? No, you don't have binocular vision capable of discerning the three-dimensionality of anything in the sky, ever. So to say round is ambiguous at best, but infers orbital motions and spheres if you're on a globe. Now, the lights in the sky are nothing more than that. Now, the church wanted to know when Easter would be and charged Kepler with figuring out how we would know when those lights would appear in a particular location at a particular time. Better predictive capabilities led him to describe orbital motion with ellipses in a heliocentric model that was derived from a celestial sphere over a flat plane and the measurements that were taken from that flat plane, that's Earth, to give you the inference of ellipses in orbits to better predict when those lights in the sky will be where they will be. Now, after that, you have Huygens saying that Venus has the same size as Earth. It's just a twinkling light. But if we say it's the same sphere, we infer, after extrapolation of angle measurements from a flat plane, then that sphere we infer for Earth can have the same value as Venus, and that'll give us the scale and distance and size of everything spherical in a heliocentric world. Doesn't mean any of it's true. It's all assumptions. Means nothing. I mean, it gave him a good way of predicting when Easter would be. It doesn't mean you're on a ball, and it certainly doesn't mean that the orbital motion described in that maths has anything to do with reality in terms of us and things falling around us. It doesn't, because the starting measurement is flat. You can't have things falling around a ball if the measurements are flat.
Earth isn't? Okay. You only think the lights in the sky are worlds that you can go to because of Matt Damon movies. No
True.
one even goes to the moon. You've been told those moving lights are worlds by a flickering screen.
Absolutely correct.
Zero actual evidence.
That's absolutely true. You have not gone out to these lights in the sky and beyond your wiki parroting and your playing of videos that have been presented to you by people on the cutting edge of cinematography, while you raise up the elevation of Hollywood who are beneath them to infer that the world we've had the ball pulled over our eyes with is actually only of the standard of Hollywood? Lower than the standard of NASA? Man, you have no idea what's going on in the world, sunshine. Go on, whoever it was. No?
I'm just wondering what Owen Benjamin's comments doing there on the screen. Is he reviewing that or something?
It's his
or?
comments. That's who we're talking about. This whole thing is about Owen. Anyway, try and keep up.
Oh yeah, the
Cool.
entire scientific community is lying to
Sorry, back to the scientific community. Oxymoron. Reification fallacy. If it's consensus, it's not science.
us, and entire careers.
No, they don't have to be lying to you. We can show you how they've taken their measurements. I mean, when it comes to trajectories to the moon, I mean, it might be the case that they'll tell you that the telemetry data has been lost. But that telemetry data would require a flat plane for the orbital mechanics calculations, because it's in reference to angles off a flat plane. Yeah, no wonder they lost this stuff. But they're not lying to you. Why have you got Homer Simpson in a space outfit? I mean, we'd like to see the telemetry data for a trip through a sky vacuum that's definitely not in violation of the second law of thermodynamics or anything. But they've lost it. But what, they're not lying? Well, okay. Give us some telemetry data and we'll point out how flat Earth's required.
Being built off going to space. None of them.
No, you don't go to space. It's a second law of thermodynamics violation. You can't travel to an area of volume that gas could fill. If you can travel to it, the high-pressure gas that expands in all directions would also go into it, and we'd all be dead.
Exist at all. What's that, Jimmy? Your dad is an astronaut?
What was that? A picture of Seth MacFarlane's cartoon character in a black area of low pressure in a spacesuit. Why did Peter Griffin need to be in a spacesuit? Would it be so that the gas that he needs to breathe doesn't expand into the sky vacuum? What about the world beneath it without a container? Surely that would disperse all of its gas into space and leave us all dead? Based on natural law? Yeah, absolutely would. Space is fake.
Sounds like he's a Santa Claus because he don't exist. Sniper Coriolis effect. Pilots absolutely account for the curve on long-distance flights.
Do they? When they fly above the horizontal? No, they do not. You've just had pilots. Oh, I see. So we don't take what pilots who are actually sat in a cockpit say in terms of their referencing the world as flat, but we do take Scott on Twitter, who says they account for curve, called it.
Nope, they don't at all. You are obviously not a sniper or a pilot.
No, but you're chuckling like he is, like he's got a point because you've referenced him. Scott on Twitter. Pilots, nah, tension-seeking clowns. Scott on Twitter? Oh yeah, they definitely account for curve on flights. Wouldn't you trust the pilots over Scott on Twitter? Clearly not.
I don't think you
Maybe
are either,
Wolfie
to
told
be
him
honest.
about the Coriolis button.
Yeah, indeed.
People aren't allowed to go to
Excuse me. Have you guys read some of the comments on this guy's thing? This guy claims to be a battleship sailor with 100% confirmed that they had to correct for both curvature and rotation of the Earth if they wanted to hit target. I mean, this. Oh my God, this is crazy, man. This is a physics person says, as a physics student, this hurts me on another level. These continue. I'm sorry. I'm just. It's just.
You're just waffling.
Even the level of defence in the argument is 2016. But what's been, if this is 4 months old, and all we're going back to is anonymous ballers going, no, snipers do. They do. Things do.
Hang on. Sorry, this is 4 months old. What the hell? Are you joking? This isn't from 2017. This is 4 months
It's
old.
4 months old.
Hold on, that's what it says on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
No, but when are the tweets sent? It just says April. It doesn't say what year.
The video is 4 months old. Looking at it.
Yeah, but when are the tweets? If these tweets are 4 months old from Owen Benjamin, we need to figure out our 6 degrees of separation and get this guy in front of us so we can give this guy an education on what proves flat Earth so he can win these arguments. If this is from 2017, then Owen Benjamin will be doing better now.
No. No, Owen Benjamin has been unbanned from Twitter for a while. He has been doing streams and all kinds of comments on there. So this is probably recent.
We need to proactively contact Owen Benjamin. Who knows Owen Benjamin?
Well, I follow him every day. I don't know him personally. I know what he talks about. And he does.
Do you know how to get in touch with him? Hold on. Hello? Unless someone else is saying they know him. Do you know how to get in touch with him, Arwin?
Arwin spoke to him.
I did.
Winnie and Bear.
Yeah, I was in his chat once. But I mean, there's a lot of bears. I could get a message to him, I guess.
Well, you need to do that, yeah. If this is the stand that Owen Benjamin's currently employing, then he's, number one, he's no different to me wanting to contact Jaron or contact Dave to say proactively you can do better. Well, I'm not assuming that he's going to react the same way as Jaron and Dave, but we should be proactively contacting this guy. Right? He's going to the effort. He's putting the graft in. Surely he'd welcome having better arguments, so he wins more often.
Well, he goes around for his own sources where he gets flat Earth arguments, and that also includes like David Weiss and other people. And he just really doesn't like to be told by people. So I don't think he would respond positively. But
And this is my
if you lay it down technically, he might take notice.
You can
Hold on.
approach this however best you see fit to achieve the same outcome as always. Now, clearly, I am not a dab hand at this, given that I've been called and claimed to be a scammer by both Dave Weiss and Jaron. I'm going to say that I am not the best person. I have not got the best tact. But given that you're disclaiming how the best tact would be taken with Owen Benjamin, I implore you to do that.
And this is my point, why David Weiss should not have been the guy to talk to freaking Owen Benjamin. I wanted you to talk to him. I'm always right.
Well, I don't live in America. I don't know him. I haven't met him personally. David Weiss has, so I think.
More's the pity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. He's just friends and all that.
So what? Okay, fine. He's got this far. We can help him get further. He doesn't like being told. Okay, well, that's going to be a struggle when we're trying to tell him things, isn't it? Well, we'll get past that bridge when we cross it.
If you put Owen Benjamin in the title, and then there is a good chance that some of his followers are going to pick up on it and forward it anyhow, whether positive or negative. But I mean, he usually only like really reacts when he's like really into you or when he really thinks you're terrible. So if it's in between, he probably won't react.
Or if he thinks you did something so stupid that he's got to make fun of it.
Exactly. Right.
Okay, fine, whatever. I mean, if this guy's proactively out on the circuit and putting out 2017 arguments, then number one, commend him for doing the do. You know, he's out there doing it. But he could do better, couldn't he?
Yes, and I agree, and I've even said that on my own show when I addressed it. Like, he is not super good at physics. He's really good at social behavior analysis, especially with relationships. He's a master, better. I've never seen better. But he also likes to talk about flat Earth, but he kind of keeps it kind of simple. So he's not super technical about it. I don't know. I don't think he's even that interested in the nitty gritty. But he does definitely like to say that the Earth is flat.
Obviously, he's into the nitty gritty in these comments. Obviously, he's interested. He's doing the do. How can you say that? Anyway, let me just round this out. The guy who we're actually covering is called Pegasus, right? As I've got a whirly whirl. Everything going out okay to the audience? Seems to be. Got a whirly whirl. Don't know if the stream's died. Anyway, no, it's come back fine. Okay, right. The guy who we're watching currently is Pegasus, so please let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link to his video going by in the comment section now. Try and keep the comment nice, polite, friendly, whatever, so it doesn't immediately get deleted by the videographer. But just allude to the fact that we've covered his video, as I say, in the vain hope that should he respond, he would put a link to our video so we could receive algorithmic love where YouTube offer us none. These are going to be the closing comments before I round out this live show, guys. So if you do have anything to add, now's your time. You've got 60 seconds.
Well, I think that, you could definitely get into contact with him. I think that he'd take you much more serious as a YouTuber since you're like more professional quality and all that, and you stay very focused. So you could potentially get in conversation with him, probably more likely than me because, I don't fit the profile for people that he likes, even though I like him.
Just let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, Arwin.
I'll go in his chat and let him know.
Whatever. Obviously, this is going to go nowhere. With that, though,
he's not clean. He's very shrewd and very, whether you don't like bickering or not, but the way he comes across, it's like he tells it and rubs it in your face. If you don't like it, do something about it. So,
he calls himself a Nephilim.
No, he doesn't.
Because he's a comedian.
Yeah, he's a comedian.
And he calls himself all kinds of silly things, and it's funny.
Because he's like 6'9". He said, "I'm a Nephilim. I'm 6'9".
He is a giant. He is definitely a human giant. Yes.
And I love the way he goes after Joe Rogan, the thumb.
Yeah, where do you think that I got thumbs up from? That's all Rogan.
And that's why I don't see why he would see the Nathan Oakley show to be so like he would be so sensitive to it. You know, he would like it. He would get a kick out of it. You know, hearing how Nathan berates the Globers. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how he goes at the listening audience when he speaks in general to the public. You know, he says it in insulting ways.
I'll tell you what, D, if you're serious about homesteading and you could take care of a livestock, he will get you started.
Yes.
Now I can't have any livestock on the golf course. I'm sorry. Maybe when we acquire the property in Rockingham, North Carolina, we could, because that's pretty rural. You know what I mean? But I can't do that here. Because I would like to do that, grow my own eggs and all stuff like that, and I would love to do that. Not be dependent upon this systematic
He's
GMO.
serious about that. He's serious and he'll help you.
Yeah, I know.
I
follow him on that. I follow him on that.
Little tip on
his
that,
own
dude.
eggs.
No, you can't grow eggs. You need chickens.
I thought that when he said it, but
yeah, I want to grow the eggs out the ground. Yeah.
Just a pro tip from Adam.
I kept chickens for a bit. I found them the best way to get eggs. I've been putting shells in the ground for years and nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. I even planted a whole egg. I boiled it.
You put the shells in the ground to give them extra protein, right? Or something like that. That's what I heard.
Trying to grow eggs.
He's not talking about a 1,000-year-old egg. That's what Neil's thinking he's talking about. I've eaten one of those in China. Delicacy. Costs a lot of money.
A 1,000-year-old egg?
Yes. That's what it's called. It's just an egg that's been buried and rotted, and then the rot has fermented, and then the fermented rot has solidified, and then you eat that.
How did it taste?
Hey, Nathan, have you seen this new I guess, edition on Facebook?
On Thursday. Next week, we'll cover it then.
Called Reels.
We'll cover it next Thursday.
Have you heard of that or seen it? What? Well, I'll just Reels on Facebook. No. What I'm saying is, it's apparently you get paid if you have a Facebook page for people viewing your Reels. Not apparently, definitely, you get paid. Not much, but you get paid per view.
Yeah, I know. Like on YouTube.
Yeah, this is just let it run and you get paid. Yeah, but I don't even think there's many qualifiers. Yeah. Just figured I'd mention it to you.
Fair enough. I'd love to have an entire team putting out my media to every platform there is. Fortunately, I'm but one man.
So allow me to get this right.
One day, man, one day.
So we were reviewing a video narrator, Pegasus, who was a Glober, that Owen Benjamin had tweeted about, or, put me abreast to this. Trying to figure out where the Owen Benjamin connection to this Pegasus
tweet. It's
clown.
Just responding to tweets from Owen Benjamin. That's it.
Gotcha.
Well, you need to know all the details, D.
No, I just want to know this little 4'9", 89-pound squirt is actually calling Owen Benjamin an idiot by responding to his tweets. That's no number one. Number two, then to respond to the tweets of Owen Benjamin with what he was presenting in his video. This guy's pretty much.
He feels brolic, bro. He can't. What did he come through with? He came through with climb a tree, bro. Like
that was clever.
But don't believe the pilots.
Nah. These guys that are trained to fly at 35,000 feet. Nah. Don't believe them when they tell you it's flat. Believe me when I tell you to climb a tree. You know why? Because I test the chemical composition of my water before I drink it. What?
This guy real? Owen Benjamin does actually keep a close tab on his tweets and the responses to it. So if anybody would write a response and it would be sensible and informative, he would probably read it.
But that's not what the guy did. So instead of responding to Owen Benjamin's tweets, he made a YouTube video about it. Of course.
That's what a lot of people do, though. He has a lot of people that just hate him everywhere. So he's used to that.
Well, the guy made out like he didn't even know who he was.
Most of them don't really. They just know that apparently he's very unpopular and stuff. Because a lot of people on the internet say that. Because they're all jealous.
I think I seen a recent video clip of him, and his main argument about the Earth can't be spinning and moving in all directions was that the constellations remain the same. So, I mean, that was his main point, and that was a recent one.
Hey, Aaron, are there any videos by Owen Benjamin of him speaking about flat Earth? Because maybe then we can review that video, in a constructive, critical way, and kind of, like Nathan said, we need to pull him, to the attention, and we can do Nathan Oakley sent me to Owen Benjamin, and then maybe he can see that, and we can swap algorithm, love and all of that, and then also,
But he says things wrong, so he says things sloppily. So that would probably be like just very critical, and he would find it whiny. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Owen Benjamin's argument.
Even the good arguments, he'll listen to really good arguments. He won't listen to nitpicking on how he says it wrong. He finds
His argument is that we can't be spinning because the angles to the stars that we observe are too consistent.
Because there's no parallax or something. I mean, he's still resting on a lot of arguments that spring forth from 2015-16, because that's still going around out there, outside of flat Earth vids.
Get on the highway, refracted.
You know what it is? A lot of those arguments from Owen, from Jaron, from Whitsitt, from all of these self-proclaimed flat earthers, they're the life preservists, and life preserve for the globe's argument and for these globetrotters to still exist, to even have platforms to continue going back and forth. Because I don't know, I think that's the thing. They're resuscitating the whole argument.
Just for the record, he has Whitsitt hanging around a lot. Although I don't know if that's still the case, but he used to mention him all the time. He was in his chat and all that. And he is like an Ethereum. Although, yeah, if you'd really get to the nitty gritty, he would probably admit that, okay, maybe it isn't really there. But he is onto that right now. So, yeah, not perfect. Definitely not. I've given him criticism for his physics. I think he's making a mess of it, and he's really not as good as he thinks. But, yeah, the rest is great. And he's still, at least he knows the Earth is flat.
Does he?
I think he's like saying about
Hold on.
sticking with these.
Sorry. Was that John piping up as well? You said he knows the Earth is flat. You sure about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes you think
he's
that?
definitely not a baller or anything, or secretly, or a conclaver.
Listen to the phraseology. You said knows Earth is flat. I would contest that. I don't think Owen Benjamin knows it's flat. He believes it's flat.
Well, do you know it's flat, or do you believe it's flat?
Yeah, based on how it's measured. Yeah, I know it's flat. I can demonstrate how it's measured, so that's different. I don't think Owen Benjamin has that. He should.
So
I don't know.
And as a matter of fact, Owen Benjamin out of his own mouth, because I do listen to him too once in a while when he's on Instagram or whatever, and he basically stands on that he does not believe the Earth spins in as a sphere, but he never claims anything or states anything that he says he knows. He knows why. He knows how. He just always stands on that. He just ridicules the heliocentric argument. That's all he does.
It's like me though, Rose. It's like everybody, a few people. You get to a certain point, like he'll be happy with the fact that he believes the Earth is flat because the constellations remain the same, and in his soul he's happy with that. And some people get to a point where they just know, and they don't have to go any further. They don't have to know the measurements. to prove it physically for themselves. You just know. So he's probably at that point where we've gone steps further, and we know how to measure it and prove it. You know, because it's measured flat. The Greeks all knew that.
Yeah, he basically ridicules and mocks all of the assertive claims of the globe side by whatever he uses, whether it be the NASA, the pictures, whether it be he doesn't feel the spin, all those type of things. But as far as getting into what we get into here about being navigably measured, observed, flat, because this, that, and that, A through Z, he doesn't do that.
Right, but there's a big difference between believing the truth and knowing the truth.
Absolutely, John.
So let me ask you this: so refractive. Somebody does not believe that the Earth is a sphere and is spinning. Then where do they stand if they don't say anything after that?
Why do they have to say anything after that?
Thank you.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Don't say I know or
saying I think when I came across the flat Earth the first time, I did believe it was flat. Deep down, I knew that, but I didn't know that. But I did believe it, and I knew it was right, but I couldn't prove it like I can now.
Right. I'm not trying to pick on somebody for their beliefs. I'm just saying there's a difference.
Well, he is technically on the side of I'm not a flat earther.
All you can do is like James and say, I have no belief.
Well, see, there it is. So he doesn't believe it's a sphere, and he doesn't believe it's flat. That's where he stands.
Yeah, I'm confused, Arn. So he denies being a flat earther. He just does not believe that. He doesn't believe in the heliocentric side. So he's like Bev.
Some people really just don't really like that connotation, you know. Like this guy, I remember watching his I guess journey into flat Earth. I mean, there are videos where he's sitting there like saying, you know, damn, I don't want to be a flat Earth person. Like that was his quote. I don't want to be a flat Earth person, but this heliocentric model just makes no sense, right?
Exactly. That's exactly.
You got the right guy. You got the right guy. I was watching it too. I remember. That's the things you used to say.
Yeah, it's Owen Benjamin we're talking about, right?
So he is basically taking the position. He's taking the almost the what would it be when you disagree with both sides of a dichotomy?
He doesn't disagree with flat earthers, but he does think that, and he doesn't even call it flat earthers. He just calls it truthers. He thinks that a lot of people are they've weaponized the information they've gotten to use it for shock value, and are basically just attention grabbing narcissists a lot. And that's his main complaint now.
Right, I understand you're defending him, but I'm just saying that I heard him said that he doesn't believe it's flat and he doesn't believe it's a sphere.
No, he doesn't say he doesn't believe it's flat. He's not on with calling it a flat Earth. He does. He will say, yeah, it's flat. He will definitely say that.
Yeah, because there are some people that will argue that it's flat. Sorry, go ahead, man.
Sorry, I rampaged you. I was just saying, it definitely is not up to date with the flat Earth debate. That's why it would be nice for him to be updated with the subject in order to go forward with these debates.
Exactly. That's
speaking of which, what was that guy that had that debate with Dearth? Or it wasn't really a debate. It was more. He kind of made fun of. I think we reviewed the video. He was talking with
The
The
English
ITRA.
guy from the other day.
Yeah, what was his name?
I forget. I forget. Nathan, what was that dude's name?
Twangles?
BBC, the ex-BBC guy. Is that what he said he was?
Yeah, I think so. But I
The
sent him a
goat.
message on his community thing, trying to get in contact with him. I haven't checked it yet, but
What was
maybe.
it about?
I mean, ideally, Arwin would just drop him a line and say, "Can you just check out this show? I think it would help," or something like that.
What was the name of the British broadcasting guy that debated Dearth? What was his name?
Andrew Gold.
Yeah, I dropped him a line. I don't know if he's responded. It was his most recent community page, so I don't know if he's got back to me yet or not. I haven't checked it.
Fair enough. I'm less interested in Andrew Gold than Owen Benjamin now. I've seen that he's out on the circuit debating this stuff with people in comments of Twitter. That makes me far more keen to, like with Joan and Dearth, like I explained earlier.
Just get in there and write it the right way, and he'll take notice of it.
That's my point. It's different with Dearth. I've got a direct line to Dearth and Jaron. Just drop him a line.
You can't respond in Twitter?
In other
Oh,
words,
yeah,
you
because
do
that's
it
going to
on
be... Yeah, that's useful.
Yeah, well, he reads that.
I'm sure he would. I don't want to build a relationship with Owen Benjamin. Okay, whatever. I'll just pretend if I said anything.
Armin, everything you're advising me to do, why don't you do it, bro?
Me? Okay. I don't really do anything with Twitter other than just keep everybody updated when my show is live. That's like the only thing I do with it, and sometimes like posts that are out there that catch my eye. But I mean, I guess I could say hello. I am subscribed to him on Twitter.
Exactly.
Just drop him a line and say hi.
Okay, I'll get to that. Sure.
With that Gray guy, I complimented him on his, taking Dave apart, because he did a good job at that. He asked a lot of questions that kind of confounded Dave.
What is flat Earth?
Yeah. That's apparently a hard question, for some people. But I complimented him because he did do a good job on what he was doing, and he wasn't really worried about proving his worldview. He was just, kind of taking someone else's apart, and he did pretty good.
He was kind of okay with Durf telling him what his worldview should be, and him just saying, "Yep, that's what it is."
Yeah, but then he caught Dave in several, logical traps where he kept going back to his script because he was asking questions that he couldn't answer.
Not to change the subject, but did anybody read the words to that song "Californication" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yeah.
Pretty wild, right? I think he's got an insight on it.
No, you can interpret it that way if you're a flat earther, but more than likely you're just saying that although space surely does exist, our concepts of it come from Hollywood.
Right, that's just that one line, but all the other lines, I don't know. I think he's onto something there.
It's a Showtime series called Californication too. Was that what the Red Hot Chili Peppers made that song based on, or did they come out with that first and then?
I don't know.
I mean, it had nothing to do with Glow Birth and like that, the series, but I don't know. It goes connected.
But like good music or good writing allows anyone to identify with some part of the writing, you know? So I don't know if he's necessarily got your same viewpoint.
John, have you got a budgie in the background or a bird, or is it me?
Yeah, I keep hearing whistling. What do you got going on there, John? Got some parakeets?
No, I'm outside.
Hey, has anyone come across this one? I was having a talk with a globe the other day, and I've got into the atmosphere sphere-shaped air. We don't have sphere-shaped air, and he said to me, "Nobody's ever claimed sphere-shaped air." I said, "Well, it's in the wording sphere-shaped air." Oakley. I just have to laugh.
Breaking up a little bit. Can you come back with that?
I'm saying at a baller telling me they don't claim sphere-shaped air. I said,
Oh,
well,
yeah, they say it's just a
it's in
word.
the words.
They say it's just a word.
I said it's in the word atmosphere. He told me I was taking my words too seriously. Don't believe what the words say. That's what he's telling me.
The definitions and meanings of words are meaningless, right?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Sounds like it. Nobody's ever claimed sphere-shaped air.
Yeah, but that's what they'll say. It's just a word. It's just a word. Yeah, but words have meaning. And that means you believe in sphere-shaped air.
Right. So they're not claiming a gradiated pressure from the surface of a sphere now? Is that what they're saying?
Well, yeah, they're saying no one's claimed a sphere-shaped air around the globe. It's just stop looking into your words, one deck.
So then how are we breathing according to them?
Well,
Maybe he just realizes the paradox of the word itself, while simultaneously somehow having the belief in the paradox.
What are you saying, like Brenda? Like Anthony was saying, Brenda couldn't say the Black Swan argument today? Oh, you weren't on earlier when Anthony was on.
No, I didn't
Brenda
hear
was, he was explaining how Brenda was struggling to properly lay down the Black Swan phraseology.
I don't think I've ever heard a baller give the exact Black Swan repetition without changing words around, you know?
Yeah, well, you said that from the beginning. If they do, then they'll have to relinquish their belief in the sphere. Because once they come to that, or even state it, they know what it means.
Dee. And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
day!